Chapter 1424. Thank you, Father! Qibing was a little excited. Was he going to become a practitioner soon? Qibing was really looking forward to it. Generally speaking, whether it was the internal martial arts or the external martial arts, they were all cultivated from a young age. Once they passed that age, it would be very difficult to make any progress in cultivation. This was because at that time, the meridians and bones would already be formed. No matter how hard they worked, there would not be much effect. Naturally, Zhao Qibing had missed the chance to train, so he didn't go back to training. This was the same as Qing Yutian. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, Qing Yutian wouldn't be able to achieve anything in his lifetime. Of course, there were ways to change this flaw. Although Lin Yi's method was effective, it was too miraculous. Normal people wouldn't be able to do it, so for sects and hidden houses, there was another way to change a person's meridians and bones. This pill was called the Foundation Elixir. Although the Foundation Establishment pill was not a very high-grade pill, only a few people in the ancient sects could refine it. The refining process was complicated, and the success rate was extremely low. Therefore, the cost was also ridiculously high. Normally, unless one was an important person in the clan, it was impossible for them to consume this kind of pill. If Zhao Qibing could use it, it meant that House Zhao would officially bring him into the core of the family, and raise him as a core disciple. All right, I'll tell Father right away. Get ready, I'll send someone to pick you up, Guangyin said solemnly. Yes, Father, Qibing replied. It had been so many years, and he hadn't been able to officially enter House Zhao. This time, it would be the start of his dream. Lin Yi didn't expect this little thing to be so stubborn. General Wei Wu chatted with him for so long, but the little guy still didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay in the tomb. But this pig's IQ wasn't low. He had deep feelings for Zhang Liju, so it was understandable. General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig talked for a while more, and Skybolt Pig brought General Wei Wu to a stone room at the back. Lin Yi saw this and quickly got up to follow with Shioka. Inside the stone room, Lin Yi saw a mountain of herbs piled up on the floor. Although many of the herbs were already dried, Lin Yi could tell from the appearance that there were many rare and precious herbs among them. After the Skybolt Pig walked in, he casually picked up a few herbs with his two front paws and stuffed them into his mouth. He then chewed on them with relish. This scene stunned Xiaoka, but Lin Yi was prepared for it. Lin Yi had seen the introduction of Skybolt Pig in Zhang Liju's medical notes, and he knew that this animal relied on herbs to increase its strength. It wasn't surprising that it ate herbs like rice. Woof woof! General Wei Wu said something to Skybolt Pig, and Skybolt Pig said something to General Wei Wu as well. After that, General Wei Wu raised his head and looked at Lin Yi. He used his paw to point at the herbs and pointed at Skybolt Pig. He then waved his paw and pointed at the door. You're saying that there aren't these herbs outside, so it doesn't want to leave? Lin Yi roughly understood what General Wei Wu was trying to say and asked hesitantly. Woof woof! General Wei Wu quickly nodded, indicating that Lin Yi was right. So that's how it is. Lin Yi looked at the mountain of herbs. If he were to move all these herbs out, it would be quite a big project. Lin Yi didn't have the legendary storage ring, and he didn't have any machines in this tomb that he could borrow. One could imagine how difficult it would be to move all these herbs out. But if he didn't move out, Skybolt Pig probably wouldn't go with him. This little guy wasn't stupid. He knew that he could increase his strength by staying here, but there wouldn't be any benefits if he left. It seemed like it wasn't entirely because he missed Zhang Liju. However, if he were to ask Lin Yi to buy these herbs for Skybolt Pig to eat, Lin Yi really didn't have that much spare cash. Don't underestimate these things. Just the ginseng and Ganoderma in front of him, any box would be worth a lot of money. Lin Yi couldn't trick Skybolt Pig into leaving and not fulfill his promise. If he did that, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Lin Yi still needed him to find the fire spirit's fruit. What could he do to solve this problem? Lin Yi was in a difficult position, right? Wasn't Skybolt Pig's goal to increase his strength? If he could increase General Wei Wu's strength, then naturally, he could increase Skybolt Pig's strength as well. Currently, Skybolt Pig was only at the middle phase of Golden Class, but he could increase his strength to the early phase of Mystic Class. With this kind of enticement, would this little thing leave with him? Skybolt Pig finished the herbs, and the chi in his body increased a little. Linny could feel it, but it was too little. It could only be described as insignificant. Since he had made up his mind, Linny walked over to Skybolt Pig. The little guy seemed to be afraid of Linny, but perhaps he knew that Linny was a mystic middle phase peak, and he wasn't strong enough to fight him. Although he was afraid, he didn't dare to run. Linny bent down and placed his hand on Skybolt Pig's body. He activated the art of dragon mastery and transferred a strand of energy to Skybolt Pig. The energy entered Skybolt Pig's body and instantly turned into chi. It merged with Skybolt Pig's chi, and his strength increased instantly. Although Linny only transferred a little bit of energy, it was still much more than what Skybolt Pig got from eating the herbs. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were worlds apart. Linny, on the other hand, only gave it a small taste of sweetness. Linny breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that his idea was realized. It seemed like the little guy was the same as General Weiwu. He didn't practice any arts or chants, and the pure energy in his body was absorbed passively, as if it was a natural treasure. Perhaps this was the difference between spiritual beasts and human cultivators. Lin Yi's action made Skybolt Pig widen his eyes, and he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. The little thing's IQ wasn't low. It could naturally tell the difference between the effects of Lin Yi's energy and the effects of the herbs it had consumed. Chapter 1425. Skybolt Pig's heart skipped a beat. In actuality, General Weiwu had told him that Lin Yi was a doctor as well as a practitioner, and he had Zhang Liju's medical notes. He could be considered as Zhang Liju's medical inheritor, and it wasn't impossible for Skybolt Pig to follow him out. After all, Zhang Liju had told Skybolt Pig before he died that if other doctors met him, he could go with them and help them with their medical practice. This was Zhang Liju's wish as well. Zhang Liju had never met a suitable disciple in his life. It was hard to find a good teacher, but it was also hard to find a good disciple. Zhang Liju was a strict man, and he would rather have nothing than a substandard disciple. In the end, he couldn't find a suitable disciple, and he could only regretfully bring all his knowledge into the tomb, waiting for the right person to visit the tomb and inherit what he had learned. So Zhang Liju's tomb was designed in a very strange and ingenious way. After figuring it all out, Lin Yi admired Zhang Liju. First of all, in order to enter the tomb and take Skybolt Pig away, one had to be someone who could communicate with spirit beasts. Lin Yi couldn't do it yet, but General Weiwu could, and so Lin Yi and the others entered the tomb without a hitch. Otherwise, they would have been stopped by the spirit beast guarding the tomb. This was Zhang Liju's first test. If he could communicate with a spirit beast, then he could enter the tomb. But if this person wasn't a doctor and was just a normal tomb raider, then the poison mist and arrows would be enough to kill the person who visited the tomb. Of course, if they were a doctor, then they could detoxify the poisons. This kind of person was what Zhang Liju was looking for as a medical inheritor. As for the character and other things, it wasn't something Zhang Liju could care about. It didn't matter if the character was good or bad. As long as they were skilled in medicine and could communicate with spirit beasts, then they could be considered as his people. Plus, Zhang Liju had saved countless people in his life, but his character was a mix of good and evil, and he wasn't a rigid person. This was somewhat similar to Lin Yi's character. The Skybolt Pig had obtained even better benefits than when he was crazily eating medicinal herbs, so he immediately waved his hands in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi was a little speechless. Wasn't this little thing a little too snobbish? Previously, it wouldn't leave no matter what I said. Now that I've given it some benefits, it came to please me. Xiao Wei, tell it that if it wants to level up, it has to come with me, Lin Yi said to General Weiwu, asking him to pass on his message. However, before General Weiwu could say anything, Skybolt Pig leaped up and hugged Lin Yi tightly as if he was afraid that Lin Yi would change his mind and not bring him along. Woof woof. General Weiwu pointed at Skybolt Pig and then at Lin Yi's mouth. It was obvious that this little guy could understand Lin Yi's words. Oh? Lin Yi was taken aback, but he nodded immediately. Since Zhang Liju could communicate with Skybolt Pig, it meant that Skybolt Pig could understand human language. This guy had always understood Lin Yi's words, and this pissed him off. Did this little thing laugh at him when he asked General Wei Wu to pass on his message? Stupid pig, you can understand my words? Lin Yi glared at Skybolt Pig. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig nodded in fear, afraid that Lin Yi would get angry and not bring him along. Let's go! Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to argue with an animal. He pulled Skybolt Pig down from his body and threw it on the ground. Walk by yourself! Oink oink. Skybolt Pig wanted to hug Lin Yi's body because he felt that Lin Yi's body was like a spirit, filled with the energy of heaven and earth. Just a little bit of it, and he'd be able to benefit from it. Shioka saw how cute Skybolt Pig was, and she couldn't help but reach out to touch it. Suddenly, Lin Yi's jade sent a warning signal. Lin Yi was startled, and although he didn't know what danger was about to happen, he still called out subconsciously. Careful! Shioka didn't expect that the moment she touched Skybolt Pig, all the hair on its body stood up, and it turned into an angry beast. It pricked Shioka's hand, causing it to bleed. Why does this little guy look like a porcupine? Shioka quickly retracted her hand and started sucking on her finger. I didn't think that it could protect itself. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. This little guy didn't have any attacking abilities, but it had defensive abilities. The jade warning was because Skybolt Pig was going to prick Shioka. Yeah, it won't even let me touch it. Shioka didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She touched it and got pricked. With the addition of Skybolt Pig, Lin Yi didn't plan on disturbing the owner of Zhang Liju's tomb anymore. He already got what he wanted, and Lin Yi wasn't a greedy person. Lin Yi's goal in this tomb was to find the fire spirit's fruit. So, when Elder Yu took the chi-gathering pill, Lin Yi didn't feel bad about it, and he didn't chase after him and risk his life to get it back. Lin Yi didn't need to waste his energy on something that wasn't useful to Lin Yi. With Skybolt Pig and General Wei Wu, Lin Yi and Shioka quickly retreated through the death door. It was a safe and stable journey, and they didn't meet any danger. It seemed like their guess was right. Wherever Skybolt Pig was, there was no danger. They retreated until they reached the exit of the life door and death door, and Shioka suddenly felt dizzy. Male thief! I'm a little dizzy, can we rest for a bit? Shioka was confused as to why she felt dizzy, but from her perspective, it was most likely due to the lack of oxygen in the tomb for too long. Oh? Dizzy? Lin Yi paused. What's wrong? The air in the tomb was thinner than the outside world, but it shouldn't affect someone like Shioka who was used to harsh environments. Even old Hei didn't feel any pressure, so why would Shioka? As a result, Lin Yi was curious about Shioka's sudden dizziness. As a doctor, especially since there were many dangers in the tomb, Lin Yi still asked her nervously. I don't know, maybe it's because the air in the tomb is thinner? Shioka said uncertainly. Chapter 1426. Wait. Jade? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that the jade did warn him when Yoshioka was petting the pig. Lin Yi quickly grabbed Yoshioka's hand. Yoshioka didn't think that Lin Yi would grab her hand so suddenly. She thought that Lin Yi wanted to comfort her because of her dizziness, and she blushed. Their relationship became more and more intimate after this trip to the tomb. Yoshioka's heart couldn't help but race, and this time was no exception. However, after Lin Yi grabbed Yoshioka's hand, he didn't do anything else. Instead, he checked Yoshioka's wound. So it's like this. Lin Yi saw that Yoshioka's wound was red and swollen, and he nodded in realization. Tianlei Pig's thorns are poisonous. Ah? Poisonous? Yoshioka felt that the wound on her hand was indeed itchy after hearing what Lin Yi said. Stupid pig, give me the antidote. Lin Yi kicked Tianlei Pig and said. Oink oink. Tianlei Pig felt wronged, as if he was expressing his innocence. He didn't do it on purpose, but he instinctively defended himself when Yoshioka got close to him. Lin Yi couldn't understand Tianlei Pig's words, but General Wei Wu could. Woof woof! General Wei Wu pointed at Yoshioka and waved its paw, then it made a sleeping posture. Oh! It means that the poison isn't a big deal, and you'll be fine after sleeping, Linny explained to Yoshioka. I see. Yoshioka sighed in relief. Is there any way to cure it? Linny asked again. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig heard Linny's words and was a little unwilling, but after thinking about it for a while, he walked over to Shioka and used his front paw to pull out a hair from his body. He poked Shioka's hand with the hair on the other side of the hair follicle. Ah! Shioka cried out in pain. However, Linny didn't stop him. He knew that the pig was trying to cure Yoshioka's poison. If he dared to harm Yoshioka again in front of Linny, then he wouldn't be able to live anymore. Gigi. The Skybolt Pig threw away its fur and shook its body, telling Linny that the poison had been detoxified. Eh? How miraculous! The wound on my hand isn't itchy anymore, and I don't feel dizzy anymore. Yoshioka exclaimed in surprise. This little thing is so miraculous! Next time, watch your enemies carefully. If you poke people again, I'll kick you out, Linny said to the pig. GG. The Skybolt Pig nodded to show that it understood. After leaving the tomb through the life door, Linny brought Shioka, Skybolt Pig, and General Weiwu, jumping up to the cliff on the side. Linny ran like he was flying, and Yoshioka's Qinggong was good as well. The 2 humans and 2 beasts soon arrived at the nearby town. Flying Sparrow, let's part ways here. We can get on the train from here. Linny pointed at the train station. We'll meet again. Ah, we're going to part ways. Yoshioka looked at Linny, unwilling to leave, since she was young. Other than her master, the male thief was the one who cared for her the most. Yoshioka would remember this tomb raiding experience for the rest of her life. She would never forget how the male thief had saved her from danger time and time again. Haha, go back and live a good life. Don't come out anymore, and I won't do it anymore. I can't take care of you anymore, Linny said to Yoshioka. Oh. Yoshioka nodded, a little disappointed. The male thief said that he was looking for a spiritual medicine for his girlfriend, so it was normal for him to give up. Then, will we meet again? Shioka knew that her question was a little silly. The male thief wasn't raiding tombs anymore, and she wasn't participating in missions like this anymore. The chances of the 2 of them meeting each other were basically 0. Perhaps they would never see each other again. If there are no accidents, I don't think so. Linny smiled. The identity of the male thief was coming to an end. This person wasn't Linny in the first place, it was Linny in disguise. Now that the mission was over, naturally, he wouldn't pretend to be the male thief anymore unless Linny had nothing better to do. I see. Yoshioka already knew the answer, but she only gave up after asking it. Alright, let's part ways here, Linny said. You're very pretty, and a kind girl. I hope you find the happiness that belongs to you. How could Linny not know what Yoshioka was thinking? But Linny really didn't have the mood to develop anything with her. One was because of the restrictions of his identity, and the other was because he was worried about Xiao Xiao's safety. Oh. Yoshioka lowered her head, as if she understood what the male thief meant. But she suddenly raised her head again and gathered her courage. Then, can you take off your mask and let me see your face? No. Linny rejected her decisively. What kind of joke was this? Wouldn't you recognize me if I took it off? Just one look. Just one look, I won't tell anyone. Yoshioka begged. What difference does it make? Linny said faintly. At least, let me have a good memory. Yoshioka said after some hesitation. Alright, how about this? Perhaps we'll meet again. I'll appear with my original face, and if you recognize me, I won't deny it. Is that okay? Linny said helplessly. Oh. Yoshioka didn't think much about it. She thought that the male thief was just trying to brush her off. Alright, I'm leaving. Take care, Linny said and turned around, bringing General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig with him as he walked away. Male thief, I like you. Yoshioka looked at the back of the male thief and finally gathered enough courage to shout out her heart. Yoshioka wasn't a shy girl. In fact, she dared to love and hate. She felt that if she didn't voice out her feelings now, she wouldn't have another chance in the future. Lin Yi's footsteps paused for a moment, but he continued to walk forward as usual. I'll definitely find you! Yoshioka shouted out her heart and became bolder. Although I don't know what you look like, it's rare to see a dog and a pig with you. I just need to remember them, and I'll find you. Chapter 1427. Looking at General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig beside him, Lin Yi wanted to cry but no tears came out. Wasn't this too obvious? Lin Yi decided that he must hide Skybolt Pig well when he got back. He must never bring him out. And, it's decided. Shioka saw that Lin Yi didn't answer her, and she couldn't help but feel sad and disappointed. She shook her head, turned around, and quickly ran to the bus station. She suppressed her feelings deep in her heart. Once she returned to the orphanage, she would become the old Shioka again. She would work hard for the children every day. And Shioka, you can do it! Shioka cheered herself on. And so, she smiled again. Lin Yi seemed to have left, but in fact, he watched Shioka get into the car before leaving with General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig. The car they took was Qinyutian's, and he probably drove back already. So, Lin Yi didn't go back to the campsite. He took off his mask and took a taxi back to Songzan. Returning to the familiar villa, Lin Yi pressed the doorbell. Lin Yi didn't bring the key when he left. Not long after, footsteps came from the villa. Lin Yi could tell that it was Yushu. Shield bro! Yushu opened the door and saw Lin Yi standing outside. She exclaimed in excitement. Yao Yao sis, Shield bro is back! Yushu ran towards Lin Yi after shouting. Her chest was jiggling, and it made Lin Yi excited. He hadn't seen it for a long time. It was great that he could get such benefits as soon as he came home. Hurried footsteps came from the villa again. Meng Yao came out as well. Seeing Lin Yi, she smiled happily. Lin Yi, you're back! And I'm back! Lin Yi nodded to the Mississippi. The Miss had gotten a lot friendlier these days. How are you guys? Did anything happen at home? Lin Yi's words made Meng Yao's face dim. Something happened. Zhou Jiaming seems to be injured. I don't know the details, but can you go check on him? Wu Qitian is heavily injured as well, and he's resting in your room with Zhou Jiaming. Wu Qitian? Lin Yi blinked. Why is he here? Lin Yi couldn't be blamed for his surprise. His relationship with Qintian had never been that good. There wasn't any deep hatred between them, but Qintian did see him as a rival in love. Why would he come here to recover after getting injured? Well, it's a long story. Meng Yao didn't know how to tell her about Qintian. Why don't you ask Zhou Jiaming? All right. Lin Yi didn't really care if Qintian was injured or not, but Zhou Jiaming was injured as well. Lin Yi nodded and quickly walked into the room. Lin Yi didn't need to care about Skybolt Pig. General Weiwu would take it to where it belonged. Oh, what's this? Why is it so cute? Yushu was surprised to see the Skybolt Pig behind Lin Yi. A little pig, Lin Yi said. It's called Skybolt Pig. It's used to find the fire spirit's fruit. What a cute pig, Yushu said, reaching out to pet the pig. Right, we've been talking about Zhou Jiaming. How's the fire spirit's fruit? Meng Yao was worried about Shixiao's safety as well. Not in the tomb, but there's some news. I'll go check on Erguden first. We'll talk about the fruit later. Lin Yi glared at Skybolt Pig. Look at whose friend they're all on our side. If you hurt them again, you'll get a beating. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig nodded hard. Yushu and Meng Yao went to study Skybolt Pig, and Lin Yi quickly walked into his room. Gooden heard the sound as well, but he had no strength left in his body. Other than barely being able to talk, he could only lie on the bed. Qintian, on the other hand, was in an even worse state. His meridians were all broken, and his organs were all shifted. Boss, you're back. Gooden finally smiled when he saw Lin Yi walk in. I didn't disappoint you. I finally made it. What's wrong with you, kid? You've only been here for a short while, and you've already learned how to talk. Lin Yi knew about Gooden's situation, and he could roughly guess what was going on. Overexertion? Yeah. Gooden nodded. It's nothing. I can still hold on. Boss, you're good. Chitian was worried. After all, he had some conflict with Lin Yi, and he was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't accept him. He'd be in big trouble then. Not only would he be heavily injured, but he'd also offended a bunch of noble houses. House Wu would be done for. Wu Chitian, since when did I become your big boss? Lin Yi blinked, confused as he looked at Chitian. Boss, let me tell you. Wu Chitian did his best when I was injured. Gooden had already accepted Chitian in his heart, and naturally, he wanted Lin Yi to accept him as well. And so, Gooden told Lin Yi everything that happened after Lin Yi left, including how he killed the two masters from House Pai, and then Jin Wudi. Then Uncle Zhu brought Zhao Fafa to Tang Yun, and Chitian sacrificing himself. Oh? Lin Yi looked at Chitian, shocked. He didn't think that he would change like this. He actually accepted Gooden as his boss. Big boss, don't worry. I won't have any thoughts about Sun Jingyi anymore. She's my big sister-in-law now, and I'll protect her like how I protect Tang Yun. Chitian was afraid that Lin Yi would still remember what happened to Sun Jingyi, so he quickly explained. Me and Sun Jingyi, we don't have anything to do with each other. Lin Yi smiled bitterly after hearing what Chitian said. It doesn't matter if we have anything to do with each other or not. I've decided that I'll focus on learning martial arts from Boss and Big Boss. I hope Boss and Big Boss won't look down on me. Chitian quickly expressed his intentions. Ha! Alright, I'll accept you. Lin Yi could see Chitian's sincerity. This person actually didn't have much conflict with Lin Yi, but because of Sun Jingyi, he was set up by Xiao Xiao a couple of times. Now that he was injured protecting Tang Yun, Lin Yi couldn't reject him. Chapter 1428. Having someone like Chitian as a bodyguard wasn't a bad idea, so Lin Yi decided to take him in. Chitian's face relaxed after hearing Lin Yi's words. Thank you, boss. But I can't teach you much about physical martial arts. I don't have any special training experience. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, However, I can concoct some special potions that can transform the body for you. Soak your palms in it, and it should help your iron fist training a lot. Lin Yi was a physical practitioner as well, but he didn't have much of it, and he didn't have any practitioner's arts. He only used some of the old man's potions to change his body's muscles and bones, and this was one of the reasons why Lin Yi was stronger than normal practitioners. That's great, thank you, boss, Chitian said excitedly. He thought that Lin Yi would have to go through a period of testing before giving him some benefits, but he didn't think that Lin Yi would give him a greeting gift right away. In fact, Lin Yi did want to test Chitian, but time didn't allow it. Lin Yi wanted to find the fruit as soon as possible, and he didn't have much time left in Songzhan. He had to settle things here and go on a new journey. And so, since Gooden had already tested Chitian, Lin Yi didn't need to test him again. At least, Lin Yi could see the sincerity in Chitian's eyes. No need to thank me, but don't be stupid and let people trick you again. Lin Yi looked at Chitian. You've been tricked by Xiao Xiao so many times, and that's fine, but you need to be smarter in the future. Don't always go out and act like you're cool. Xiao Xiao, didn't I get tricked by sis-in-law? We're family, so it's not tricked. Chitian explained awkwardly. But don't worry, boss, I'll be careful. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. Zhao Fafa brought a Zhu guy to cause trouble for Tang Yun. Is Zhao Qibing tired of living? After that, I analyzed it with Miss Chu. It should be because Uncle Zhu didn't know that Tang Yun was your girlfriend, boss, and Zhao Fafa didn't tell the truth, so they went to find trouble with Tang Yun's sis-in-law. Chitian explained. Big boss. This name is a bit too weird. You can call me Big Boss Lin Yi from now on. You can also call me Zhou Jiaming. Lin Yi corrected. Alright, I'll call him Boss Lin Yi then, Chitian said straightforwardly. He'd call him whatever Lin Yi liked. You don't know? I can't just let it go if you don't know. But you're the one who's injured, so I'll respect your decision on how to deal with Zhao Qibing. Lin Yi raised his head and looked at Chitian. Do you want some benefits, or do you want to step on him yourself when you're strong enough? Chitian wasn't Tang Yun, so Lin Yi couldn't help him. Although he was Lin Yi's follower, there was still a difference between him and a woman. Can I? Boss Lin Yi! Can I step on him myself? Chitian heard Lin Yi's words and his eyes lit up. Forget about the benefits, I want to step on him myself. Alright, I'll let you step on him yourself. Lin Yi sighed and decided to help Chitian increase his strength. He'd left, Gooden had left as well, and he didn't feel safe leaving Uncle Fu here alone. The only person he could use right now was Wu Chitian. Boss Lin Yi, I'll wait for this day. No matter how much pain I have to endure, no matter how much effort I have to put in, I can endure it. As long as I can cripple that old man with my own hands, I'll be able to act cool for a moment. Chitian gritted his teeth and swore. Lin Yi was speechless at Chitian's pretentious attitude. He said unhappily, How many days do you want to wait? Endure hardships and endure? You can wait, but I can't. Ah? Chitian froze after hearing Lin Yi's words. What do you mean? Nothing. Tomorrow, you'll go and cripple that old man Zhu, then come back and stay in the villa peacefully as a bodyguard for Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun, Lin Yi said. Tomorrow? Chitian opened his mouth and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He wondered if there was something wrong with his ears. He was still lying on the bed today. How was he going to take revenge tomorrow? Not to mention that his injuries weren't healed yet. Even if he did, he wouldn't be a match for Uncle Zhu. Tomorrow! Lin Yi nodded with certainty. Chitian, on the other hand, was very confused. He didn't know what Lin Yi was so confident that he could go to Uncle Zhu for revenge tomorrow. He asked, Boss Lin Yi, my injuries. And I'm not strong enough? Are you going to hug him and let me hit him? I'll heal your injuries, and I'll help you increase your strength, Lin Yi said. We'll talk about this later. I'll send Gooden back first. I'm fine. I've been holding on for so many days already. A little more doesn't matter. Gooden shook his head nonchalantly. We can't drag it any longer. Did you tell Yuan Yuan? I'm worried about you going back alone. I'll send you back to the train and have Yuan Yuan go home with you? Lin Yi asked. I did tell her about my injuries, but asking her to go back with me. I didn't ask, so I don't know if she'll go back with me? Gooden scratched his head embarrassedly. Boss, I'm afraid that she'll reject. How do you know if you don't ask? Lin Yi was experienced. She'll go back with you. At first, Lin Yi wasn't sure if Tang Yun would go back with him, but she chose to go with him without hesitation. Then, I'll just ask. Gooden hesitated and decided to call Yuan Yuan. He didn't let Lingshan leak the news of Yutian's injuries, and of course, that included Lin Yi. First, Yutian didn't want his sister to know. If he told Lin Yi, it would be the same as letting Yushu know. The siblings were very close, and Yutian was afraid that Yushu would be sad if she knew. Second, he didn't want Lin Yi to cause trouble for House Yu. Everyone had seen House Yu's strength in the tomb. It wasn't wise to ask Lin Yi to go to House Yu to avenge him. Lin Yi had more important things to do. Chapter 1429. Today, Lingshan had an appointment with Sun Jingyi from House Sunday. She wanted to talk about Qin Yutian. Although she knew that the chances were slim, she had to try no matter what. It was a coffee shop, and Lingshan was wearing sunglasses as she sat at a table in front of a glass window, waiting for Sun Jingyi to arrive. Sun Jingyi was still driving her red Audi A4L. What surprised her was that Wu Qitian didn't bother her at all. As Sun Jingyi returned to her peaceful days, she started to miss Lin Yi. Could it be that she really fell in love with this young man? Sun Jingyi denied this thought. Lin Yi didn't have anything worthy of praise, did he? He was just a big thief. How could he be worthy of her, Sun Jingyi? But Lin Yi wasn't just a big thief. He had other identities, and he wasn't weak either? In fact, Sun Jingyi couldn't find a reason to ask Lin Yi out again. So, she started to look down on Lin Yi in her heart, reminding herself not to be interested in Lin Yi anymore. Sun Jingyi parked her car in front of the coffee shop and walked in quickly. She saw Lingshan sitting by the window. Although Sun Jia didn't have much contact with House Song, Sun Jingyi still had an impression of this famous captain of the criminal investigation team. She had seen her on TV before. Recently, Ling Shan had solved many big cases. Miss Sun? Hello? Ling Shan, naturally, knew about Sun Jingyi's information beforehand. So, she recognized Sun Jingyi the moment she walked in. She stood up and waved. Sun Jingyi nodded and sat in front of Ling Shan. Officer Song, why are you looking for me? Since they chose to meet in a coffee shop, it couldn't be about work. But Sun Jingyi couldn't understand why Ling Shan wanted to meet her. They didn't seem to have any personal relationship. Call me Ling Shan. This isn't the police station. Ling Shan smiled. I'll call you Jingyi, is that okay? Of course. Sun Jingyi was even more confused. What was Ling Shan trying to do? Jingyi, come sit. What would you like to drink? Ling Shan smiled. Anything. Juice is fine. Sun Jingyi sighed and decided to skip the pleasantries. Her instincts told her that Ling Shan wanted to meet her for something. So, Sun Jingyi decided to go straight to the point. Ling Shan, why are you looking for me? It's like this. Ling Shan was embarrassed that Sun Jingyi saw through her intentions. Then I'll be straight to the point, okay? How's Sun's practitioner's arts? Which stage are you at? Only the first stage. Why? Could it be that you want to ask for House Sun's help during the Noble House meeting? Sun Jingyi couldn't figure out what Ling Shan was thinking. At the moment, the only thing that could make the two interact was the Noble House meeting. That's not it. I just want to ask you to help heal someone, Ling Shan said, finding it hard to bring up the topic. Heal someone? Sun Jingyi frowned. What do you mean? I'm not a doctor. How am I supposed to heal someone? His meridians are damaged. Normal doctors won't be able to help him. I can only ask for your help, Ling Shan said carefully. Ling Shan, since you're asking for my help, then you should know how special House Sun's practitioner's arts are, right? Sun Jingyi didn't reject her directly. She asked in a roundabout way. I know. But he really needs help. If he can't recover, then his family will never be able to recover, Ling Shan said. So, I'm begging you from the bottom of my heart. You can help him, no matter what it is, just tell me. Ling Shan, don't you think that your request is a little presumptuous? Sun Jingyi decided to tell the truth. This was a matter of principle. Sun Jingyi couldn't lie to Ling Shan. I know it's a little presumptuous, but this is his last hope. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. Forgive me for being blunt, but if I heal him, then the true qi produced in my body can only be used by him in the future. I am not related to him in any way. If it were you, would you do this? Sun Jingyi said faintly. Unless you're my future husband. If not, then I'm sorry. It's fine. Actually, I already knew the result. Jingyi, don't be angry. Ling Shan saw that Sun Jingyi was a little angry and quickly explained. I know you're worried. But I really can't do this. Sun Jingyi rejected. Instead of begging me, you might as well get him a meridian opening pill. Meridian opening pill. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. This is a treasure even in a hidden house. How am I supposed to get it? Sun Jingyi shrugged helplessly. It was true. The meridian opening pill was hard to come by even in a hidden house, let alone Ling Shan. Otherwise, House Sun wouldn't have such a high position as one of the noble houses. Although House Sun's arts didn't just heal wounds, it could also increase a person's strength. But if the meridian opening pill was too common, House Sun wouldn't be able to rise to such a high position. I'm sorry, but that's not something I need to worry about. Sun Jingyi nodded to Ling Shan. Ling Shan, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. All right, thank you too. Ling Shan sighed and was about to call the waiter for the bill when an ear-piercing alarm sounded. Ling Shan raised her head and saw that there was a commotion at the bank across the street. The alarm was coming from the bank. Not good. Ling Shan realized something immediately. Excuse me, she said to Jingyi before leaving the money on the table. She didn't even bother to keep the change, and ran out of the coffee shop as fast as she could. But even so, Ling Shan was one step too slow. A figure carrying a sack ran out of the bank. His speed and body were both super fast, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the alley beside the bank. Ling Shan felt a sense of familiarity as she looked at the disappearing silhouette, but she didn't have time to think about it. She crossed the road and rushed to the alley beside the bank, but the alley was empty by the time she got there. There was no one there at all. Chapter 1430. Looking at the empty alley, Ling Shan had no choice but to give up. The robbers should have already left with the vehicle, and chasing after them would be futile. She turned around and went back to the bank, her face a little dark as she yelled, "Everyone, don't panic, I'm the robber! Is the person in charge here? I'm the vice president on duty," a middle-aged man said as he ran over. "I was the one who called the police. I didn't rush here, I was on the other side of the road and heard the alarm," Ling Shan said. Ling Shan said, "I'm the captain of the city police's criminal investigation team, Song Ling Shan. This is my ID. Please tell me what happened and show me the surveillance footage." All right. The vice president, naturally, didn't care if Ling Shan just happened to see it or not. He'd heard of Ling Shan's name before. It was like this. Ling Shan couldn't help but furrow her brows after hearing the vice president's explanation. The exact same robbery method, the exact same outfit, at least from the initial analysis, it should be the same person as the previous robberies. As the vice president was explaining the situation, police sirens came from outside the bank. Lu Wangli brought his men and rushed into the bank, only to see Ling Shan there. "Captain Song, why are you here?" Lu Wangli paused. "I was in the cafe opposite, and I saw the whole process of the robber's escape, but he was too quick, he was already gone by the time I got here," Ling Shan said, a little regretful. "Yeah, from the previous robberies, this robber seems to have gone through professional training. Not only is he fast, but he's also fast when he escapes." Lu Wangli nodded helplessly. "This is the 6th case already. It's only been a few days." Ling Shan could only put Yutian's matter aside for now and focus on solving the robberies. The robber's boldness and arrogance were out of her expectations. This robber had reached a stage where he didn't care about anything. Hidden House Zhao, the young master of the house, Zhao Guangying, was anxiously standing in front of his father's room, waiting for him to come out. "Elder Bai, how long has father been in seclusion?" Guangying looked at the time and asked urgently. "It's been about 3 days. According to the time, he should be out soon," Elder Bai said faintly. "Please don't rush, young master. I'm not allowed to disturb the master when he's in solitary training." In order to advance from the earth rank to the heaven rank, old man Zhao would often go into seclusion, but he would come out every 2 or 3 days to inquire about the Zhao family's affairs. If there was nothing important, he would go back into seclusion. "All right." Zhao Guangying nodded respectfully. "Is Guanyin here?" Old Zhao's voice came from the room behind Elder Bai. "Head, the young head is here." Elder Bai quickly replied respectfully when he heard Elder Zhao's voice. "Let him in," Old Man Zhao said. "Yes, Patriarch." Elder Bai quickly said and made a welcoming gesture to Guanyin. "Young head, please come in." Guanyin nodded and said to Elder Bai. "Elder Bai, I have something very important to tell my father. It concerns the future of the Zhao family, so please don't let anyone near." "Don't worry, young head, I will watch the door." Elder Bai's face turned serious after hearing Guanyin's words. Although he was directly under Elder Zhao's command, Guanyin was still the young head. Elder Bai still respected him a lot. Since Guanyin said it was important, then whether it was for the sake of the Zhao family or his responsibility to Elder Zhao, he had to guard the door. He couldn't let anyone near. Zhao Guanyin walked into Old Master Zhao's villa. At this moment, Old Master Zhao was sitting in the living room of the villa's main entrance. He was dressed in a white training outfit and held a cup of fragrant tea in his hand. He looked like an immortal. "Father!" Guanyin bowed and said respectfully. "Yes, Guanyin is here." "What is it?" Lord Zhao nodded and said. From what you said, is there anything that concerns the future development of our Zhao family? What is it? Father, it's about Lil Bing, Guanyin said. Zhao Qibing? Old Zhao couldn't help but frown when he heard the name. He had never liked this illegitimate child. After all, House Zhao and House Yu were in-laws, and Zhao Guanyin had an illegitimate child outside. How was he supposed to face House Yu like this? So, Elder Zhao could only pretend that he didn't know about it and didn't mention it publicly. He also didn't let Qibing return to House Zhao, and House Yu didn't find anything wrong with it. What trouble did he cause this time? Elder Zhao's first thought was that Qibing had caused trouble. Father, Zhao Qibing has done a great deed for House Zhao this time. Zhao Guanyin actually hoped that Elder Zhao would recognize Qibing. After all, Qibing was his son, and Zhao Guanyin was a man who valued boys over girls. Even though Qibing was an illegitimate child, he still valued him a lot. He couldn't help but exaggerate when he introduced Qibing's contributions to the family. Great deed? What credit? Old man Zhao was stunned. What did he do outside? It's like this. Guanyin quickly explained how Qibing and Yaoan had tricked House Yu's Yu Wuxing into giving them the qi-gathering pill. What? Qi-gathering pill? This thing really appeared? When old man Zhao heard Zhao Guanyin's words, he immediately stood up in excitement. He was a calm person, and it was rare for anything to make him so excited. However, today, he couldn't hold it in anymore. Yes, Zhao Qibing, this child, it's been hard on him. He's just being filial to you. He's always remembered that you're an Earth class late phase peak, and he's been trying so hard to break through to Sky class, but to no avail, so he tried everything he could to find the whereabouts of this qi-gathering pill. Guanyin said. This child, he dared to ask Yu Wuxing, an Earth class, for this pill. He's willing to put his life on the line for you, Father. You have to know that if Yu Wuxing isn't happy, Lil Bing won't be a match for him. Chapter 1431. Guanyin, there's no need to say I understand what you mean. Old Zhao naturally understood the meaning behind Guanyin's words. He waved his hand and interrupted. Let Elder Bai bring Qibing back. No matter what, whether or not the qi-gathering pill is real or fake, he has this filial piety. As his grandfather, I can't disappoint him. Father is wise, Zhao Guanyin said excitedly after hearing his father's words. Guanyin, this child, I'll acknowledge him this time, of course. If the pill is real, I'll give him what he deserves. Old Zhao said. In our house, we've always been fair with rewards and punishments naturally. Those who contribute will not be neglected. It should be real. Yu Wuxing risked his life to get it, it can't be fake, Guanyin said. But House Yu, keep it a secret from Jean. If Yu Wuxing isn't an idiot, he wouldn't say it himself. Jean may be your wife, but she's still a Yu, Old Zhao said faintly. Of course, if we can't keep it a secret, then there's no need to keep it. We didn't steal or rob, it was a normal exchange. What can House Yu do to us? So be it. To me, the pill is much more important than the marriage with House Yu. Once I become a Sky class, House Zhao's strength will rise to another level. You're right, Father. Guanyin breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that House Yu would really get the news and push all the responsibility to Qibing, handing him over. But now that Elder Zhao had spoken, he'd take all the responsibility on himself. All right, bye, come in for a bit. Old Zhao's face was calm, but his heart was impatient. It was a qi-gathering pill, after all, a super medicine that could make him become a Sky class. The sooner he used it, the sooner he could become a Sky class. Head! Elder Bai quickly walked in and bowed respectfully to Elder Zhao and Guanyin. Bai, you and Guanyin go to Songhan and bring Qibing back. Make sure he's safe, Old Zhao said. Yes, Elder Bai said. Father, I'm going to Songhan with Elder Bai, is that okay? As for the Noble House Association, Guanyin was a cautious man. He'd suffered too much from his playfulness when he was young. If it weren't for the marriage with House Yu, he wouldn't have been able to become the young head of the house. Although he was the eldest son, his other brothers weren't any weaker than him. They were all mystic late-phase masters, so Guanyin had to be careful. That's not a problem. You're bringing our son home, not doing anything else. The Arbitration Association won't stick their noses into other people's business. Lord Zhao smiled and said, Guanyin, you've been a bit too careful all these years I've been in seclusion. This isn't the bearing a future patriarch should have. If I really step into the heaven realm, then I won't be managing the family's affairs in the future. I want to pursue a higher heavenly Tao, and you should support the Zhao family. The Arbitration Association doesn't allow people from the hidden houses, especially Earth-class masters, to go to the common world. They're afraid that the hidden houses and the noble houses will have conflicts and break the balance. But if you go do your personal business, that's fine. Yes, father, I understand. Guanyin couldn't help but be overjoyed. Years of wife had finally become a woman. Just as his father had said, once he stepped into the heaven class, then he wouldn't be managing the family's affairs anymore. At that time, he could slowly take over House Zhao and become the true head of the house. Guanyin and Elder Bai didn't stay for long. They both went to pack up and prepared to leave for Songhan, Floating Cloud Bar. A black Audi A8L quietly parked in front of the door. After the driver got off, he quickly opened the front and back doors. The first to get off was naturally Elder Bai, followed by Guanyin. No matter what, Zhao Guanyin was the future head of House Zhao, and old Zhao's words had revealed some information. Elder Bai naturally had to give him the necessary respect. Elder Bai and Guanyin entered the Floating Cloud Bar. The bar was already open for business, and there was a lot of noise inside. Elder Bai frowned, evidently not a fan of this environment, but he didn't say anything. Where's your boss? Guanyin asked a random waiter. You're looking for the boss. Please wait a moment. The waiter wasn't surprised. He knew that there were many people who came to the bar to ask for Yao Weng's help, so he used the walkie-talkie to contact Su Jiaoneng. Mr. Su, someone's looking for you. Su Jiaoneng quickly walked out of the room and saw Guanyin and Elder Bai. But Su Jiaoneng didn't know them. He walked over and said, I'm the owner of the bar, Su Jiaoneng. What do you need? Su Jiaoneng? Is Zhao Qibing here? Guanyin thought that his name was a joke. It was comparable to Zihua's. You're looking for Master Bing? May I ask who you are? Jiaoneng couldn't tell what these two were here for, and he didn't know if they were here to cause trouble or to seek medical help. I'm his father, Guanyin said impatiently. Get Zhao Qibing out here. Jiaoneng paused, subconsciously thinking that this was a sexual assault. After all, someone suddenly appeared out of nowhere and said that he was Zhao Qibing's father. It was normal for Jiaoneng to misunderstand. Sihua bro, someone's sexual assault. Jiaoneng quickly turned on the walkie-talkie and asked Sihua for help. Guanyin was about to explode. He came here to look for his son, but was treated as a sexual assault? What kind of logic was this? He was just about to explode when he saw Sihua rush out of the room with a few of his men behind him. Sihua said as he walked, Who dares to commit sexual assault here? Do you want to die? Sihua bro, it's him. He says he's Master Bing's father. Jiaoneng pointed at Guanyin. Boss? Jiaoneng didn't know Guanyin, but Sihua did. Sihua jumped when he saw that Guanyin was here in person. He kicked Jiaoneng. You bastard, this is the big boss. What kind of eyes do you have? He's Master Bing's father. Ah? Jiaoneng paused, his face darkening. How would he know that this was Zhao Qibing's father? Chapter 1432. Sihua nodded and went into the room to push Qibing out in a wheelchair. Qibing was pleasantly surprised to hear that his father was here to welcome him. Dad, you're here? And? Zhao Guanyin nodded. Qibing, take that thing and come with me to the Zhao family. There were too many people here, so Guanyin didn't mention the qi-gathering pill. Okay. Qibing nodded quickly. That thing is in my arms. Should we leave now? Let's go. Guanyin knew that Qibing's legs were broken, but seeing his son in a wheelchair with his own eyes still made him very emotional. He walked over and pushed Qibing's wheelchair towards the entrance of the bar. Sihua, I'll leave everything here to you. Don't worry, boss, I'll do my best to take care of things here while Master Bing isn't here. Sihua nodded. Okay, but remember, you have to keep a low profile during this time, don't cause any trouble, Guanyin reminded. There's a saying that goes, take a step back and you'll see the world. The head of the house is definitely going into isolation, and we can't let anything happen during this time. We have to do everything we can to pave the way for the head of the house to level up. Yes, boss. Sihua's face turned serious as he replied. It seemed that old Zhao was going to break through to Sky class soon, and once he did, the strength of House Zhao would increase immeasurably, so they couldn't let anything happen while he was leveling up. Guanyin nodded and left the bar with Elder Bai and Qibing. They came to the car, and Elder Bai carried Qibing to the back seat first, leaving him in the front passenger seat. He did this because Guanyin was the future head of the house, and because Qibing had done a great service for House Zhao. If the qi-gathering pill was real, then Qibing's position would definitely rise, and he might even become the heir. After Zhao Guanyin got in the car, he ordered the driver to drive back to the Zhao family. They didn't want to stay in Songzhan for too long. Qibing, let me introduce you. This is Elder Bai, your grandpa's housekeeper and also the old housekeeper of House Zhao, Guanyin said. You can call him Grandpa Bai. Yes, father, Qibing replied respectfully before turning to Elder Bai. Hello, Grandpa Bai. Thank you for your help earlier. Haha, young master, this kid is not bad. He's polite. Elder Bai smiled and nodded. Guanyin felt a bit awkward. He knew that Elder Bai was implying that his and Yu Xiaojin's son was arrogant and bossy, but it wasn't too surprising. He was the son of the first wife, the son of the head of the house. Especially at their rebellious age, they didn't know their place. This Zhao Qibing, on the other hand, was praised by Elder Bai. Guanyin knew what kind of person Qibing was. He was arrogant and bossy outside, but he was a bit more obedient in front of the elders. But Zhao Guanyin wouldn't say anything. In the family, although he was the young master, Elder Bai was very close to his second brother's son. He didn't like Zhao Guanyin's own son, and Elder Bai was an elder of the family. When Zhao Guanyin became the head of the family, he would definitely enter the elder council. So his opinion on the next head of the family was very important. Now that he had a good impression of Qibing, Guanyin was happy. When it came to choosing the next head of the house, even if Qibing was chosen, it would be much better than his second brother's son. You're flattering me, Elder Bai. Being polite is a traditional virtue, Qibing said humbly. But I haven't seen much of the world, so I don't know the rules. Please don't mind me, Elder Bai. When I see Grandpa later, please give me some pointers. Of course, when the time comes, you'll just follow your Grandpa Bai. I'll help you check. Elder Bai was very happy with Qibing's words. They didn't say anything on the way, and when the car entered the Zhao manor, Qibing and Elder Bai breathed out in relief. The importance of this pill was priceless, and they were afraid that something would happen on the way. Fortunately, House Yu didn't know anything yet. After entering the manor, they could only park in the parking lot. The inside of the manor was full of rugged paths, and only people could walk, not cars. So Guanyin and Elder Bai had to get off the car and walk, while Qibing was still in the wheelchair. Qibing was fascinated by the scenery inside the manor. Was this House Zhao? Wouldn't it be great if he became the master of this place? Zhao Qibing took a deep breath. He had decided that he had to seize this opportunity. If he became the master of House Zhao one day, then whatever Lin Yi, whatever Erguden, they wouldn't even be able to do anything to him. They were just ants in front of him. Guanyin, this is... Guanyin didn't think that he'd see his wife, Yu Xiaojin, not long after he got off the car, staring at Qibing. Although she was asking him, it was obvious that she'd recognized him. With Yu Xiaojin's information network, he believed that she'd gotten hold of Qibing's information a long time ago. It was just that Guanyin hadn't had much contact with Qibing these past few years, and Qibing hadn't returned to House Zhao yet, so she turned a blind eye to it. But this time, Guanyin had brought Qibing back so brazenly, and this made Xiaojin uncomfortable. Xiaojin, this is Zhao Qibing. You should know him already. I won't introduce him. Guanyin said awkwardly. He didn't know why Qibing was here. Wow, Guanyin. You're really something. Xiaojin smiled coldly. I thought that you'd let go of that thought after all these years, but you actually brought him back? Young madam, if you have something to say to the young head, we'll talk about it when we're free. Elder Bai cut her off coldly. The head said that he wants to see Qibing, and I'm bringing him to him. What? Xiaojin paused. She didn't think that it would be Elder Zhao wanting to see Qibing. She thought that Guanyin wanted to talk to Elder Bai and let Qibing return to his ancestry, but she didn't expect this to be the case. Chapter 1433. Oh. Okay. Xiaojin was helpless. Old Zhao had spoken, and as much as she didn't want to, there was nothing she could do. She just didn't understand. Didn't old Zhao always hate Guanyin's playfulness when he was young? He hated his illegitimate son as well, and Qibing hadn't been home all this time because the old man didn't support him. Guanyin didn't dare bring this up. Xiaojin's eyes were full of suspicions as she watched the three of them leave. She was from a hidden house, after all, and wasn't an idiot. But since it was old Zhao who had ordered it, she couldn't just ask him about it. She could only keep her suspicions for now. Qibing, when you see Grandpa later, you have to be polite. Don't say anything you shouldn't. Guanyin reminded Qibing at the entrance of old Tao's villa. Don't worry, father, I won't say anything. Qibing nodded and said cautiously. Elder Bai had already gone in to inform old Zhao, but came back quickly. Young master, Qibing, the old head wants us to go in together. Right now, Qibing hadn't been acknowledged by old Zhao yet, so Elder Bai called him by his name. Once he did, he'd have to call him Master Bing. No matter how high Elder Bai's position was, he was still the head housekeeper of House Zhao, and he couldn't just ignore the rules. Guanyin nodded and brought Qibing into the villa. This was Qibing's first time meeting old Zhao, and he'd only met Guanyin before. The white-robed old man in front of him gave Qibing a lot of pressure, and he didn't dare look him in the eye. Luckily, he was in a wheelchair, and he had something to support him, so he wasn't too nervous. Qibing, right? Raise your head, let Grandpa see you. Old Zhao sighed softly when he saw Qibing. This kid was already so old, but this was his first time seeing him in person. He'd only seen pictures before. Yes, Grandpa. Qibing raised his head respectfully. Please forgive me, Grandpa, I can't stand up to greet you, my leg injury hasn't healed yet, it's all right. Old Zhao waved his hand, not reacting to Qibing's politeness like Elder Bai did. Old Zhao knew Qibing better than Elder Bai. He knew that this grandson of his was a bit wild outside, so he didn't know if the politeness in front of him was fake or real. I heard that you got a chi-gathering pill? Yes, Grandpa, it's here. Zhao Qibing carefully took out the bottle from his pocket and held it with both hands. I've never seen you before, Grandpa, but I've always been thinking about you. So when I heard that House Yu Wuxing had this pill, I tried everything I could to get it for you, Grandpa. Lil Bai, have you checked the Qi Convergence pill? Lord Zhao asked. No, the young master and I didn't touch the pill, we wanted you to check it yourself. Elder Bai said carefully. One had to know that Elder Bai was an Earth class late phase peak, just one step away from Sky class. To avoid suspicion, he didn't touch the Qi gathering pill. It wouldn't be good if it turned out to be fake and people suspected that he'd secretly swapped it out. Bring it here. Old Zhao nodded. He knew what Elder Bai was thinking, but after all these years, he trusted Elder Bai a lot. Every time he found a treasure, Elder Bai would give it to him first. Yes. Guanyin took the bottle from Qibing's hands and gave it to old Zhao. Old Master Zhao took the small bottle and immediately became excited. Looking at the small bottle in his hand, old Master Zhao took a deep breath and carefully opened it. He put it under his nose and sniffed it. His face immediately revealed a surprised expression. Yes. This must be the Qi Convergence pill. Old Man Zhao's breakthrough was imminent, so he had a deeper understanding of the Qi gathering pill than others. He had also searched everywhere for this kind of pill, so he had an unusual understanding of the appearance and smell of the pill. So with just one look, Old Man Zhao could basically confirm that this was a Qi gathering pill. It really is the Qi Convergence pill. Old Zhao stood up abruptly and looked at Qibing excitedly. Ha ha! I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. Our house Zhao has so many capable people, and we've tried our best to find it, but it was the bastard of House Zhao who found it. I didn't even mention this to him, but he had the intention to do so. You guys take a look, Guangying, you take a look too, this grandson is amazing. One couldn't blame old Zhao for being so happy and excited. This was a spirit herb that had allowed him to step into the sky class, and it could be said that Zhao Qibing was the hero of House Zhao. No one could compare to what he had done. Grandpa, you're flattering me. Qibing may be a bastard, and he grew up among the commoners, but Qibing always remembers that he's a member of House Zhao, so House Zhao's business is Qibing's business. This is what Qibing should do, there's nothing to be proud of, Qibing said respectfully. Not bad, you're not bad. Old Zhao finally gave Qibing a positive evaluation. You're thoughtful. This time, what reward do you want? Tell me, as long as I can do it, I'll promise you. Qibing heard his grandpa's words and was overjoyed. He wanted to be the heir of House Zhao, the future head of House Zhao, but he couldn't say this out loud. He wasn't an idiot, and his grandpa was just being polite. If he really said that he wanted to be the head of House Zhao, it'd be too arrogant. Even if his grandpa didn't say anything, he'd definitely not like him in the future, and he wouldn't be able to be the heir then. So, Zhao Qibing's expression remained unperturbed. I've said it before, this is something I should do, it's not a merit. Since it's something I should do, what reward do I still need? Lenny nodded. Ha ha! Old Zhao laughed. You really don't want a reward? Say it, like you want to practice, or you want to return to House Zhao, or even raise you as the heir? Chapter 1434. This? Can I really ask for it? Can you really agree to anything, Grandpa? Qibing hesitated, pretending to be greedy. Of course. I'm a man of my word. Disappointment flashed across old Zhao's eyes as he saw Qibing's impatience. He'd thought that this bastard who grew up among the commoners was special, but he didn't think that he'd reveal his true self so quickly under his own temptation. But no matter what, Zhao Qibing was the biggest contributor to House Zhao, so as long as he made a request, old Zhao would have to agree. Not only did it involve old Zhao's reputation, but it was also for others to see. Old Zhao wouldn't mistreat anyone who contributed to House Zhao. Then, I'll ask for something that's too much. Qibing gritted his teeth, as if he'd made a huge decision. Say it. Old Zhao's face was a little unhappy, but he didn't show it on his face. Grandpa, I know that this request is a little too much, but I still have to say it, Qibing said. Grandpa, I want to ask for a meridian opening pill. I hope you can agree to it. Huh? Old Zhao paused. He thought that Qibing would say that he wanted to be the next head of House Zhao, and old Zhao would agree. But he'd seen through Qibing's character, and if he didn't have any achievements in the future, it wouldn't be too late to cripple him then. But he didn't think that Qibing would ask for a meridian opening pill. This pill was precious, but Qibing couldn't use it, could he? This was a medicine that could only be used when a practitioner's meridians were injured, and Qibing wasn't a practitioner, nor did he have any meridians injured. Why would he need it? I know that it's precious, Qibing couldn't help but say in disappointment when he saw old Zhao's surprise. You want it? Old Master Zhao's expression was a little strange. The meridian unblocking pill is expensive, but compared to the qi gathering pill, it's a world of difference. It's just that I'm a little curious. What do you want the meridian unblocking pill for? It's like this, Uncle Zhu is my underling, and he risked his life to protect me. That Linny injured his meridians, and now he's fallen from mystic to golden class. I don't want him to be crippled just like that, so I'm asking for a meridian opening pill for him so that he can practice again, Qibing said. Oh? Is that so? Old Zhao was shocked by Qibing's words. He didn't think that Qibing would ask for the meridian opening pill for Uncle Zhu. It was such a good opportunity. Zhao Qibing could have asked for something he wanted, but he gave it to someone else. Elder Zhao couldn't help but reevaluate Zhao Qibing. It seemed that he had misjudged this kid before. This kid was a loyal and righteous person. From helping him find the pills to asking for Uncle Zhu's medicine, all of these proved this point, causing old man Zhao to be filled with emotions. This grandson who grew up among the commoners was really not an ordinary person. Yes. I hope that you can fulfill my wish, Grandpa. Qibing nodded solemnly. All right. I'll agree to this request of yours. But this request is something that House Zhao should do. Little Zhu is your underling, and my underling as well. Giving him the meridian opening pill is also House Zhao's responsibility. Elder Zhao nodded. That doesn't count. What else do you want? Tell me. This time, Elder Zhao really hoped that Qibing would ask for something. After all, Qibing was a great hero, and if he didn't ask for something, Elder Zhao would feel bad. But, Grandpa, I really don't have anything else to ask for. Qibing thought about it and shook his head. Qibing, do you want to become a practitioner? Elder Bai suddenly asked. That? Of course, but I'm past the best age for practicing, so I can't practice anymore. Qibing smiled bitterly. That's fine. Since you've heard of the meridian opening pill and the qi gathering pill, then you should have heard of a pill called the foundation pill. It can change your meridians and bones, allowing you to step onto the path of practice. With that, Elder Bai turned to Elder Zhao. Head, Xiao Bai has a request. I want to take Qibing as my disciple. I hope that you can grant my request. Oh? Xiao Bai, you want to take a disciple? Isn't that rare? There are so many disciples in the house who want to be your disciple, and you've never agreed to any of them. Now you're bringing it up yourself? Elder Zhao looked at Elder Bai, surprised. Zhao Qibing's character is commendable, and he's done a lot for House Zhao. He meets my requirements for a disciple, Elder Bai said. If that's the case, then Qibing can't ask for more. I'll make the decision on my own and let Qibing be your disciple. Elder Zhao nodded. He was shocked. Elder Zhao didn't say who would be the heir in the third generation, but Elder Bai's attitude was very important. He wanted to ascend to sky class and then pursue the path of the heavens, so other than Zhao Guangyin's responsibility, Elder Bai was also in charge of the family. If Elder Bai had his eyes on a young disciple, then that young disciple would very likely become the next heir. It seemed like Qibing had a lot of hope. But Elder Zhao didn't purposely stop him. Since Qibing was part of House Zhao's bloodline and had done a lot for House Zhao, and it seemed like he had a good character, then there was no problem for him to be the heir for now. Qibing, hurry up and greet your master. Zhao Guangyin's emotions were very complicated, but he was also very happy. Qibing was his son, after all. Now that he was taken in as Elder Bai's disciple, his status would definitely skyrocket in the future. He might even become the new head of the house. Qibing greets master. Zhao Qibing was so happy that he wanted to kneel down and kowtow, but there was something wrong with his legs. The moment he kneeled, he fell off the wheelchair and fell flat on his back, almost breaking his head. Don't kneel, it's not too late to kneel when your legs are healed. Elder Bai was very happy to see Qibing's respect for his master. He smiled as he helped him up and put him back on the wheelchair. All right, Qibing, you might not understand why Lil Bai took you in as a disciple, but I'll let Guanyin explain it to you later. I'm going into isolation, you have to work hard. Elder Zhao nodded to Qibing. He couldn't wait to go into isolation. Chapter 1435. Haha, good. Very good. Old Zhao was very happy. He turned to Elder Bai and Guanyin. Guanyin, Lil Bai, I'll leave the house to you for a while. I'm going into isolation, and it might take a long time. Be careful during this time, and don't cause any trouble. If anything happens, just hold it in. Once I become a sky class, House Zhao won't be afraid of anyone. I understand, Father. I told Sihua to keep a low profile already. Zhao Guanyin nodded as he said this. Let's search for it. With old Zhao's approval, Qibing, naturally, moved into House Zhao officially. There was a lot of questioning in the house, but old Zhao was already in isolation, and even if they were dissatisfied, they couldn't do anything about it. Plus, old Zhao wouldn't allow anyone to question his decision. Of course, that wasn't all. The news of Elder Bai taking Qibing as a disciple exploded in everyone's ears. This was what made Xiao Jin feel threatened. Qibing returning to House Zhao wasn't a big deal, and Xiao Jin would at most feel uncomfortable, but it wouldn't affect anything. But Elder Bai taking Qibing as a disciple was something thought-provoking. Could it be that old Zhao was planning on making Qibing the heir of House Zhao? Xiao Jin exploded the moment Guanyin returned to his room that night. She had to get to the bottom of this. What was this Zhao Qibing doing here? Zhao Guanyin. Tell me, what are you planning by bringing this bastard back? Xiao Jin was someone with a strong back. She didn't need to be humble in House Zhao. Elder by taking him in as a disciple, is he planning on making him the next head of the house? I'm telling you, that's impossible. The head of the house has to be our child. Xiao Jin wasn't a shrew before, but this was out of her expectations. She had to get to the bottom of this. Xiao Jin, father was the one who brought Lil Bing back, and Elder Bai was the one who suggested taking him in as a disciple. Guanyin said, Don't yell at me, even I don't know the inside story. It's not a secret. You can ask Elder Bai if you don't believe me. Okay, I'm tired. I'm going to rest. It was the first time Guanyin had treated Xiao Jin so coldly. He and Xiao Jin didn't have much of a relationship, after all. Guanyin had played with countless women in his life, and Xiao Jin was just a union of benefits. He'd let her have her way before because House Zhao needed to borrow House Yu's power, but now that his father was a sky class, he'd be on the same level as House Yu. He didn't have to care about Xiao Jin's feelings anymore. Plus, Guanyin really couldn't explain anything to Xiao Jin about Qibing. The elixir was stolen from House Yu's hands in the first place, and he'd definitely slip up if he said too much. So, Guanyin decided to just keep quiet. Xiao Jin was visibly taken aback by Guanyin's attitude, but she was someone from a big house, after all. She felt that there was something fishy about this whole thing. It didn't make sense. If Zhao Guanyin ignored her, then Xiao Jin wouldn't keep causing trouble. That would only make their relationship even more awkward. Xiao Jin decided to give her brother a call. Her father was in isolation all year round, becoming the guardian of House Yu. He wouldn't come out easily, and Xiao Jin's brother, Yu Xiaochun, was the one in charge of everything. Hello? The phone was picked up, but it was a girl's voice. Is this Xiaoning? I'm your aunt. Xiao Jin could tell that it was Yuning's voice and smiled. Is your dad here? I need to talk to him about something. Auntie, wait for a second. Dad is talking to his underlings. Can I ask him to call you back when he comes back? Yuning asked. That's fine, then let him call me when he comes back. Make sure to call my phone, don't call our house, Xiao Jin said. All right. Yuning was a little doubtful. Did something happen to her aunt in House Zhao? But Yuning didn't ask. She really didn't want to get involved in family matters, and she didn't want to carry the burden of House Yu's mission. She just wanted to be a normal girl. Ning, who's calling? A boy around the same age as Yuning walked over. Brother, it's Auntie, she's looking for father, Yuning said. Since you're here, I'll go back to my room. Tell Dad later. Okay. Yuning's brother smiled bitterly. Going back to paint? No. Yuning shook her head. Is there still no news of him? There is. But there are some things that are hard to say. Yuning didn't say who it was, but her brother knew that it was Lin Yi. Before, there was no news of Lin Yi, but now there was news of Lin Yi. There was a lot of it, but he didn't know how to tell Yuning. Lin Yi was actually mortal enemies with the Common World's House Yu. Naturally, House Yu would stand behind the Common World's House Yu, and Yuning couldn't do anything about it. As a result, he was afraid that his sister would do something irrational, so he didn't know if he should tell her the truth or not. As the heir of House Yu, Yu Bing naturally had access to the information channels of House Yu. Recently, there was more and more news about Lin Yi. It made Yu Bing happy, but at the same time, he was in a dilemma. He didn't want House Yu to have conflict with Lin Yi. Whether it was from his or his sister's point of view, he didn't want House Yu to become Lin Yi's enemy. However, House Yu wasn't under his control. The current head of House Yu was their father, Yu Xiaochun, and the Common World's House Yu had earned a lot of money for House Yu. Although the hidden house you had never put the common world's house you in their eyes, the hidden house you couldn't just sit back and do nothing if something happened to the common world's house you. So, Yu Bing had been trying his best to play down the negative news about Lin Yi and let his father focus on the chi-gathering pill. His father was now in Earth class late phase peak, one step away from Sky class. If he had the chi-gathering pill, then reaching Sky class wouldn't be a dream anymore. Brother, there's really news about him. Why didn't you tell me? Yu Ning grabbed her brother's arm in surprise and shook it. Tell me! Chapter 1436. Yu Ning was shocked. Then what do we do? Can't you go and mediate in private? Yu Ning was a little anxious and angry. This Lin Yi, of all people, he had to make enemies with House Yu. By doing this, wasn't it making things more and more difficult for her and Lin Yi to be enemies? Yu Ning had been fighting all these years, and although there was no result, she still had hope in her heart. But if Lin Yi and House Yu became enemies, then all hope would be gone. There's no way to mediate. Yu Bing smiled bitterly. The common House Yu, one dead and one injured, it's a life and death grudge. Even if we are the hidden House Yu, we can't just suppress this grudge. It's fine if we don't do anything, but asking them to let go of this grudge is too much. One dead and one injured. Yu Ning didn't think that Lin Yi would be this ruthless, killing one and injuring one from the common House Yu. That was an irreconcilable grudge. Even the hidden House Yu couldn't do that. Yu Ning understood that the hidden houses always prioritized benefits. As for personal feelings, that was only a consideration when the benefits were balanced. So this time, her house definitely wouldn't stand on Lin Yi's side, and Yu Ning couldn't do anything about it. Sister, don't worry. I'll try my best to convince father to let the hidden House Yu not do anything. The only ones who will be looking for Lin Yi is the common House Yu. Lin Yi should be able to handle it. He's not stupid. Is there something wrong with offending the common House Yu when he knows he can't win? Yu Bing said. It's been so long, and the common House Yu still hasn't done anything to Lin Yi. This proves this point. That's the only way. Big brother, I'll leave this to you. Yu Ning nodded, relaxing a little. As long as the hidden House Yu didn't do anything, then Lin Yi shouldn't be in much danger. We're siblings, there's no need for pleasantries. I'll just do my best. Yu Bing nodded. In the meeting room of House Yu, Yu Shaochen met with Elder Yu, Yu Wishing. So you didn't find the chi-gathering pill, and you didn't find the refinement method? Not only did you come here for nothing, you even got hurt? Shaochen asked in a low voice. Yes. Master. That tomb was too dangerous, and the tomb robbers even started fighting amongst themselves. Quite a few of them died, and in the end, no one entered the underground palace. Elder Yu said carefully. In front of the head of the house, Yu Shaochen, Elder Yu didn't dare act rashly. Yu Shaochen was an Earth class late phase peak, much stronger than Elder Yu. Plus, Elder Yu had a guilty conscience, so he didn't even dare to breathe. Trash! Yu Shaochen was a little disappointed. It was just a simple mission, and you ended up like this. What a piece of trash! Yu Wishing was grumbling in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that you guys didn't want to treat my poison, why would I have handed over the pills? If I had handed over the pills earlier, would you have given me $1 billion to treat my injuries? I'm afraid I would have been left to fend for myself. Yu Wishing understood House Yu's way of doing things. The head of the house, Yu Shaochen, was a snobbish person, and it wouldn't be a problem for him to spend $1 billion on the chi-gathering pill, but it was impossible for him to spend $1 billion to treat his injuries. As a result, Yu Wishing decided to hide the truth. House Yu couldn't possibly have any connection with the tomb robbers, and if he didn't say anything, how would House Yu know? House Zhao wouldn't say anything even if they got the benefits, and Yu Wishing wasn't worried about that. I'm sorry. Master, please punish me. Yu Wishing knew that although he didn't complete the mission, he didn't do anything wrong, and Shaochen wouldn't do anything to him. At most, his position in House Yu would still be that lowly, and he wouldn't be given much training resources every month. Forget it, you can leave. I'll think of something about the tomb robbers. Xiao Chen waved his hand impatiently. It was as Yu Wuxing had thought. He wouldn't punish Yu Wuxing, but he was a little annoyed. He'd been waiting for the qi-gathering pill for a long time, and now he couldn't get it. It was like a horse with a bunch of fresh grass tied to its head. It could see it, but it couldn't eat it. Yes. Yu Wuxing's heart sank. Xiao Chen wouldn't send someone else to rob the tomb, would he? But then, he thought of the dangers in the tomb and the powerful guardian beast, and he relaxed. If there weren't any tomb robbers following them, even a sky class wouldn't be able to return. Xiao Chen looked at Elder Yu's back and waved his hand, his face dark. One of his men quickly came over and whispered, "Master, what are your orders?" "Yu Lu, keep an eye on Yu Wuxing," Xiao Chen said. "Yes, master." "You're suspecting him?" Yu Lu asked carefully. "That's right, this old thing is from the common world house Yu, and he's not on our side. I'm afraid that he'll keep the things for himself after he gets them," Xiao Chen said. "Don't alert him, just search in the dark." "Yes, master," Yu Lu replied. He was a servant, but he was an Earth-class mid-phase peak, much stronger than Yu Wuxing. There was no way he'd be discovered if he kept an eye on Yu Wuxing. Yuan Yuan didn't hesitate after receiving Gooden's call, and decided to go home with him. Yu Rin and Yuan Yuan's mother didn't want her daughter to leave, but Yuan Yuan had made up her mind. Yu Rin could only tell her to be careful and take care of Zhou Jiaming, and to call home when they arrived. "A grown girl can't be kept at home," Yu Rin sighed. "Dad, why don't you and Mom go there as well? I heard from Zhou Jiaming that it's in the mountains, the air is good," Yuan Yuan said. "Haha, that's alright, after a few years, we can go there too." Yu Ren nodded. His daughter was going, and there was no point for him and his wife to stay here. Mrs. Yu, on the other hand, had tears in her eyes, unwilling to leave. Lin Yi, Meng Yao, Yishu, and Tang Yun all came to send them off as well. Gooden's dedication in this period of time really touched the girls. He was Lin Yi's follower, but they had built up some friendships over this period of time. "If there's anything here, just come to me." Lin Yi smiled to Yu Rin. "Uncle Yu, Gooden and I are brothers. If there's anything, just come to me, just like how you look for him." Chapter 1437. "Boss, you have to take care of yourself, Lin Yi, and I will come visit you," Qintian said to Gooden as he laid on the wheelchair. "Haha, it's fine, don't worry about me. I'll be fine when I get back." Gooden forced a smile as he was supported by Yuan Yuan. Lin Yi nodded. Gooden was telling the truth. He'd recover after drinking some spring water. The train's whistle sounded, and Gooden and Yuan Yuan entered the ticket checkpoint. After seeing them off, everyone left the train station. After sending Tang Yin home, Lin Yi went back to the villa with Meng Yao, Yushu, and Qintian. "Shield bro, did you find the fire spirit's fruit? Can Xiao Xiao be saved? I haven't seen her in so long, I miss her quite a bit. I don't have anyone to play with anymore," Yushu said with nostalgia. "No, but I found some news about the fruit. I'm planning to go look for it after settling things at home," Lin Yi said. "The process might be long, so you guys stay at home and take care of yourself. Don't worry about the bodyguards. Qitian should be fine." "But I don't like him. He's so stupid." Yushu didn't like Qitian at all. She felt that this guy was a bit stupid. "Shu, don't talk nonsense." Meng Yao kicked Yushu and turned to Qitian. "I'm sorry, Shu's just like that. It's fine, as long as you don't like me. If you did, I wouldn't dare be liked," Qitian said as if it was natural. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. Shu was right, this guy was really stupid, not knowing that she was speaking up for him. "The little pig at home is called Skybolt Pig. With its help, I'll be able to find the fruit," Lin Yi said. "Don't worry, there won't be any danger along the way." "That's good." Meng Yao nodded. She didn't want him to leave, but because of her personality, she wouldn't say anything to make him stay. On the other hand, Lin Yi had no choice but to go. If he wanted to cure Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi had to go. "I'm going to help Qintian heal and increase his strength. Call me if you need anything," Lin Yi said before entering the bedroom with Qintian. "Yao Yao, Shield bro is leaving, but I want to go with him," Yushu hesitated. No, you have to stay and take the college entrance exam. College entrance exams are coming up, Mengyao said. Besides, you won't be able to help even if you go, he still has to take care of you. Oh. Yushu was a little disappointed, but Mengyao was right, she really couldn't help much. Linny went back to the room and said to Qingtian, I'm going to heal you now, and after that I'll help you increase your strength. But you're a physical practitioner, and I'm not very good with that, so I can only make some medicine for you. But I can turn you into a spiritual practitioner, and you'll focus on physical and support internal. With both, you'll be stronger than people of the same level, and you'll be able to fight people of a higher level. Ah? Qingtian froze. He couldn't believe his ears. Linny boss, what did you say? I think I was hearing things. I didn't hear you clearly? After all, the dream of every physical practitioner was to do both. That way, not only would they be able to bridge the gap between spiritual and physical practitioners, but they'd also be able to surpass spiritual practitioners of the same level. Plus, the two complemented each other, and it didn't matter if you leveled up your physical or spiritual practitioner first, you'd be able to bring the one that hadn't leveled up first to level up. This was the so-called, the east side is not bright, the west side is bright. For example, if an external master reached the mystic rank first, then when he broke through to the mystic rank, he would no longer feel the bottleneck. Similarly, if the internal master reached the mystic rank first, then it would be a lot easier to break through to the external master. A physical practitioner at the early phase of mystic wouldn't have much of a problem fighting a spiritual practitioner at the mid-phase of mystic. Both of them would be on par, and this was similar to Lin Yi's unique practitioner's arts. But Lin Yi's was a little more mysterious. The meridians in your ears are fine. Lin Yi checked Qingtian's ears and said, So you didn't hear things wrongly. I don't want to repeat myself. House Wu should have a spiritual practitioner's arts too, right? Spiritual. Yes. Qingtian heard Lin Yi mention the spiritual practitioner's arts again, and he finally confirmed that Lin Yi wasn't joking with him. He was being serious. This meant that Lin Yi really wanted to turn him into a spiritual practitioner. Every external sect or noble house had their own spiritual practitioner's arts. This spiritual practitioner's arts weren't particularly high class, but it was the most compatible with the external practitioner's arts they practiced. The two could complement each other. This kind of inferior spiritual practitioner's arts wasn't a secret, and many noble houses had them. House Wu was no exception. However, the people of the Wu clan weren't suited to cultivate internal mental techniques. Moreover, the people of the Wu clan couldn't even spend all their time cultivating external mental techniques, so where would they find the time to study internal mental techniques? Although everyone knew that cultivating internal qi would allow one to gain greater strength, the key issue was that one had to be able to cultivate it. In the Wu family, only old Master Wu, Wu Gonggao, had studied internal qi for a while, but he didn't have much success, so he gave up. So, even the strongest person in House Wu, Wu Gonggao, didn't make much progress, let alone the others. Qingtian, on the other hand, had followed them for a few days, but he didn't make much progress. Do you know the chant? So you've practiced it before? Lin Yi asked. I did, and I still remember the chant, but it's just a little bit of pure qi. The qi in my house is too thin, and I don't have spiritual herbs, so I gave up. Qingtian said honestly. That's right, Lin Yi. All right, I'll heal you first, and you'll be fine when you start the chant. It might be painful during the breakthrough, can you take it? Lin Yi asked. Chapter 1438. Qingtian was overjoyed. Didn't that mean he was going to be awesome? The more he thought about it, the more excited he got. I'm not afraid of hardships. When I was training my iron fist, I put my hand in hot charcoal. It's fine, Lin Yi boss, don't worry, I can take it. As long as I can level up, I'll be fine even if you beat me to death. Beat you to death and you'll still level up. Lin Yi was speechless. This guy's thinking was a little off. But Lin Yi didn't say much. He only nodded and put his hand on Qingtian's meridians. Chitian thought that Lin Yi was checking his meridians, but the next moment, he felt that the injured parts of his body were being healed by a strong energy. In an instant, his injuries were healed a little. This was something Chitian couldn't imagine. Ah! Chitian's eyes widened. He was from a noble house, and he had gotten injured many times when he practiced martial arts. After he got injured, there were also private doctors in the family who would heal him. Although these doctors were better than normal clinics, Chitian had never seen Lin Yi's healing method before. What was this called? Checking the meridians? Chitian had never seen this before. But after Chitian screamed, he quickly shut his mouth. He saw that Lin Yi had his eyes closed, clearly focused on healing him. Chitian didn't want to disturb him. Time passed, and Chitian was getting more and more shocked. He couldn't believe that his injuries could be healed so quickly. It had only been a short while, but the internal injuries in his body were already almost healed. Suddenly, he thought of a shocking possibility. Wasn't House Sun a healing house? He wanted to marry Sun Jingyi because he wanted her to heal him when he was injured, right? But how could Lin Yi know House Sun's arts? But that didn't make sense. It seemed that the Sun family's mental cultivation method could only heal one person, but Lin Yi seemed to be able to heal many people. Chitian had heard of Lin Yi's amazing medical skills. He'd even thought that Lin Yi was a liar who wanted to treat his aunt's father-in-law, but now it seemed that Lin Yi wasn't a liar at all. It was his own ignorance. Just thinking about it made Chitian blush. Fortunately, Lin Yi was a magnanimous person and didn't bring it up again. In fact, it was because of Chitian's dedication that made Lin Yi accept him. If it weren't for Tang Yun, Lin Yi wouldn't have accepted him so easily. What Chitian didn't expect was that almost all of his damaged meridians were healed, and even some of the internal injuries from his training were healed by Lin Yi. Chitian couldn't help but want to cheer. His two bosses were one stronger than the other. No wonder Erguden had to call Lin Yi boss even though he was so strong. He couldn't help but be impressed. Start channeling your practitioner's arts, Lin Yi suddenly said to Chitian. Oh, okay. Chitian paused and quickly replied. He didn't dare to delay and started channeling his practitioner's arts. Chitian felt a sudden surge of pure chi coming from Lin Yi and entering his body. Chitian's practitioner's arts, which were extremely awkward at first, became smooth all of a sudden. The reason why it wasn't smooth before was because there wasn't any spiritual chi in the world, and there wasn't any spiritual medicine for training. But now, with Lin Yi's pure chi flowing in, Chitian didn't have any bottlenecks like before, and his spiritual strength increased rapidly. Chitian was surprised and happy, but he didn't dare to delay or rest, afraid that he'd waste a bit of pure chi. He was shocked that Lin Yi was giving him the pure chi, but since Lin Yi had already done it, if he didn't accept it, he'd be letting down Lin Yi's good intentions. He had to train even harder. But Chitian felt that Lin Yi was becoming more and more like House Sun's practitioner's arts. Could it be that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi really had some sort of relationship? But no matter what, he had already given up on Sun Jingyi, so he shouldn't think about Sun Jingyi anymore. Plus, he had a boss like Lin Yi. Why would he need Sun Jingyi? Chitian felt relieved. He'd gotten stronger, so why would he be afraid of not finding a wife? With that thought, Chitian worked even harder. Golden class. Chitian didn't think that he'd broken through just like that. How long had it been? Just like that? He'd been training his physical style since he was young, and he'd only broken through to golden class. But this spiritual style broke through in just a few hours. Wasn't this a little too fast? Chitian couldn't believe it. Was he the fastest golden class master in history? But just when he was thinking about how he'd broken through so quickly, he realized that he was about to break through to golden class early phase peak. Golden class early phase peak. Chitian broke through again. He was a little prepared this time, but he was still shocked. No way, he'd surpassed his original physical strength in the blink of an eye. Was this real? I'm not dreaming, right? Golden class mid-phase. Chitian finally confirmed that he wasn't dreaming, but he'd broken through to golden class mid-phase. Golden class mid-phase peak. Chitian was a little numb. This was too fast, and he couldn't accept it. He hadn't even experienced the joy of breaking through to Golden Class Mid-Phase, and now he was Golden Class Mid-Phase Peak. Golden Class Late Phase. Chitian felt like his heart was going to explode. He'd never heard of a way to break through like this. Golden Class Late Phase Peak. Chitian felt like he was sitting in a helicopter, but he didn't think about whether it was real or not. He wouldn't dream like this. Every time he broke through the bottleneck, the pressure was real. It was painful, but as Chitian said, it was nothing compared to the hard work he'd put in. It could be seen that Chitian was a little arrogant, but he was someone who could take hardships. His strength was also obtained through hard work. Next, I'm going to turn you into Mystic Class Early Phase. You might suffer a lot, but just bear with it, Linny suddenly said to Chitian. Chapter 1439. But now was a time of need, and Linny needed Chitian to protect Mengyao, Yushu, and Tangyan. Only by doing his best could he ensure their safety. Mystic? Chitian was shocked beyond words. He was a Golden Class Late Phase Peak now, and he was already very surprised and satisfied. Was there anyone who could go from a person who didn't know martial arts to a Golden Class Late Phase Peak in one day? Chitian didn't think so, at least he hadn't seen it before. But now, it hadn't even been a day. In just one night, he became a Golden Class Late Phase Peak, and this wasn't enough. He wanted to become a Mystic Class? Chitian felt his body shaking with excitement. When he recognized Gooden as his boss, he wanted to take a gamble. He wanted to see Gooden's physical skills, and he wanted to learn from him to increase his own strength. But he didn't expect that his strength increased. But it was the spiritual strength, not the physical strength. But before Chitian could get excited, he felt a strong surge of chi entering his body, and it exploded, becoming even stronger. In an instant, his body swelled up like an inflated balloon. Ah dash! Chitian moaned in pain, but he clenched his teeth. He said before that he could endure it, so in order to not let Linny look down on him, he gritted his teeth and endured the pain, not letting himself make a sound. Chitian's strength was beyond Lin Yi's expectations. On the other side, Lin Yi had completed his own steps, and the rest was up to Chitian. Lin Yi couldn't help much, and success or failure depended on Chitian's talent and luck. With Qinyutian, Lingshan, and General Wei Wu as examples, Lin Yi wasn't worried about Chitian's safety. This method of condensing energy to increase strength seemed to work, at least for Golden Class Late Phase Peak to Mystic. Lin Yi, on the other hand, wasn't idling. After helping Chitian increase his strength, it was already the morning of the second day. Lin Yi heard voices outside the door. It should be Faubert and Pingzhan. They must have heard the news of Lin Yi's return from the miss, so they came early in the morning. Lin Yi pushed the door open and saw Pingzhan and Faubert sitting on the sofa in the living room. Meng Yao and Yushu were already dressed, evidently ready to go to school. Uncle Chu, Faubert, you're here. Lin Yi nodded to them. Uncle Fu and I came to see you after hearing that you've returned safely, Pingzhan said. But I heard from Yao Yao that you're leaving soon? Yes, Uncle Chu, I'm going to look for the fire spirit's fruit to cure Xiao Xiao's disease. I'm afraid I'll have to leave soon. Then how long will you be gone this time? College entrance exams are around the corner. You'll probably miss it, right? Pingzhan asked. Uncle Chu, you're saying that I should stay with Yao Yao and Yushu after they go to college? Lin Yi paused. Meng Yao and Yushu would definitely go to another city if they went to college. There was no way they would stay in Songzhan. After all, there was only one medical university in Songzhan, and the two clearly didn't want to study medicine. Yeah, it's rare that Yao Yao likes you so much. You know how she is, she doesn't accept strangers easily, so I'm thinking that you should go to the same university as her and continue to be her bodyguard, Pingzhan said. The miss blushed after hearing Pingzhan's words. She wanted to argue, but she didn't want to. She felt conflicted. Before, Meng Yao had thought about what would happen to Lin Yi after she and Shu went to college. From her point of view, it didn't matter if she was willing or not, their fate would end there. Lin Yi was clearly not a simple bodyguard, and Meng Yao understood that hiring him as a bodyguard was a waste of his talent. So, she couldn't just shamelessly ask him to protect her for the rest of his life, could she? All good things must come to an end. Lin Yi had already resigned, and he was only staying here as a friend. He didn't have the obligation to protect her anymore, and they didn't have a relationship of employer and subordinate. From Meng Yao's point of view, she wouldn't be able to tie Lin Yi to her anymore after she and Shu went to university and lived there. Naturally, she wouldn't be able to tie Lin Yi down anymore. That wasn't realistic either. Lin Yi had his own life, and he had his girlfriend. Would Tang Yun bring her and Shu along when she went on a date? What would that become? Would it really be like what Shu said, that everyone would marry Lin Yi? Although Meng Yao wasn't really against it, she felt that it wasn't the case. Besides, she clearly didn't like Lin Yi that much. She was just used to having him by her side. Shu was the one who liked Lin Yi. Great! Great! Yushu clapped her hands after hearing Ping Zhan's words, forgetting what Lin Yi wanted to say. That isn't too good. I don't think I can make it for the college entrance exams. Lin Yi sighed. Besides, Yao Yao and Shu won't be in this city when they go to college, right? That's not a problem. Yao Yao and Shu are participating in the college entrance exams to prove their strength. I have a way to do it even if you don't need to. It's just that it's not a good name to be a self-funded student, Ping Zhan said. If you're worried, let Tang Yun go to the same college as them. Ping Zhan seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's thoughts. Shield bro, you're going back on your words. Are you going back on your words? Yushu didn't give Lin Yi time to think and questioned him directly. Oh? Lin Yi paused. Why would I go back on my words? You promised me before that the one who changes will be General Weiwu, Qingyu said. Yushu's words reminded Lin Yi of the time when he'd lost all his strength and was about to resign. Then it's a deal. If you recover to a higher level than before, you'll have to stay in the villa forever, with me and Yao Yao sis. It's a deal. I want to pinky swear. Ha, okay. Pinky swear for 100 years and you can't change. The one who changes will be General Weiwu. Chapter 1440. Lin Yi was just brushing Yushu off. He didn't think that he'd recover his strength and break through all of a sudden, but this sentence became a promise to Lin Yi. Lin Yi wasn't someone who made promises easily, especially to friends. Once he made a promise, he had to keep it. Yeah, I said it already, I'm Prophet Shu. Yushu nodded. Then you can't go back on your words. But last time, we agreed to stay in the villa, right? You guys are going away to college, so naturally you won't be staying in the villa anymore, Lin Yi said. A villa? Yushu thought about it, and an idea came to her. We can buy a villa in another city, right, Uncle Chu? Ping Zhan was the rich one here, so naturally, Yushu looked at him. Ping Zhan was willing for Lin Yi to stay as well, so he nodded. Of course, that's not a problem. That's what I was planning to do anyway. Otherwise, Faubert and I wouldn't have a place to stay if we went to visit you guys, right? You guys can stay in the school during the week, and you can go back to the villa during the weekends. Yeah, Shield bro, look, he said a villa, but he didn't say where it was, so it's fine as long as it's a villa, right, Yao Yao sis? Yushu held Meng Yao's hand and asked. How would I know what your deal was with him? Meng Yao acted like she didn't mind, but on the inside she was happy. This Shu sure had foresight, getting it right every time. All right, since it's a deal, then we'll have to do it. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Uncle Chu, I'll leave the school to you then. What's there to beg about? You take care of Yao Yao and Shu, I'm the one troubling you. Ping Zhan smiled. Right, when are you planning to leave? Do you need to prepare anything? I don't need to prepare anything, I'll see about it for the next few days. I'll leave after dealing with things at home. Lin Yi smiled. The fire spirit's fruit doesn't have legs, so it won't be able to run away. I'll have to settle things at home first, and I'll let Wu Qingtian take over temporarily to protect Yao Yao and Shu. That's fine, but Wu Qingtian's strength. Ping Zhan and Faubert had heard about Qingtian's situation, and they accepted him after seeing how dedicated he was. But they were still worried about Qingtian's strength. Strength isn't a problem. I've forcefully raised his spiritual strength to mystic early phase. He's a dual practitioner now, not much weaker than me. It's more than enough to protect Yao Yao and Shu, Lin Yi said. Pingzhan had heard from Faubert that Lin Yi could forcefully raise someone's strength, so he wasn't surprised. But the fact that he could raise Qingtian to mystic early phase shocked Faubert. You can raise someone's strength to mystic now? While Li Fu's desire to reach a higher level in his youth had faded a lot with the passing of time, he was still able to increase his strength a little bit more, and it would be a great boost to his ability to protect Pingzhan and Meng Yao. Yes, this is a method I came up with when I was exploring the tomb, and I've tested it on Lishan and Yutian. It's proven to be effective, so if you're free later, Faubert, come back to the villa and I'll help you raise your strength. Lin Yi saw through Faubert's thoughts and said, All right. I'll come back after sending Miss Chu and the others off. Faubert really couldn't wait to raise his strength. After all, this was an irresistible temptation for practitioners. After checking on Lin Yi and confirming Lin Yi's schedule, Pingzhan left the villa with Meng Yao and Yushu, leaving Faubert to send them to work and school. Lin Yi, on the other hand, stayed in the villa, waiting for Qingtian to break through. Although he didn't need Lin Yi's protection, Lin Yi was afraid that someone would barge in and hurt him. Qingtian wouldn't be able to fight back at this point. Lin Yi waited for everyone to leave before returning to his room, only to see Qingtian holding his lower body pitifully, looking for clothes. He looked a little awkward when he saw Lin Yi. Lin Yi boss, I accidentally blew my clothes up when I broke through, ha! That's normal, it's the same for others. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. Just find some clothes and put them on. We're both men, what's there to be afraid of? It's not that. It's just that it's a little small. Qingtian was a little embarrassed and let go. I'm afraid that you'll laugh at me, Lin Yi boss. When you get a girlfriend, I'll make it bigger for you. Hurry up and put your clothes on. Lin Yi was speechless. What? It can get bigger? Thank you so much, Lin Yi boss. Qingtian was so happy that he started dancing, even happier than when he broke through. He went to look for clothes to wear. How do you feel now? Lin Yi asked. I feel great right now. I didn't think that I'd become a mystic early phase, and I'm a dual practitioner. I feel like I can fight my grandpa now, Qingtian said. Beating up Uncle Zhu is child's play. And we'll talk about Uncle Zhu in 2 days. Let's wait for you to stabilize your strength. You're actually still a golden class early phase physical practitioner, and your spiritual practitioner's arts only exist to support physical practitioners. It doesn't have any offensive skills, so you should focus on leveling up your physical skills as well. Lin Yi knew Qingtian's situation like the back of his hand, and directly pointed out his weakness. Qingtian was also a mystic early phase, but he was different from Lishan and Yutian. Lishan and Yutian were both spiritual practitioners, so after leveling up, they had corresponding strength. Faubert was different as well. Faubert may have been a physical practitioner, but that was later on. Faubert's first practice was still a high-grade spiritual practitioner's arts, so after leveling up, Faubert was basically an external supporting internal practitioner, unlike Qingtian who was an internal supporting external practitioner. When it came to both internal and external practitioners, one was the main, and the other was the support. It was very rare for both to be a high-grade practitioner. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't continue to practice physical practitioners because he hadn't found a suitable external practitioner's arts, so he focused on spiritual practitioners. Chapter 1441. Lin Yi nodded. Then I won't disturb you. Go to the guest room and train yourself. Come see me when you've reached mystic early phase. Okay. Qingtian gritted his teeth. He thought that it was a bit hard, but Lin Yi was able to turn him from a normal golden class physical practitioner into a mystic early phase spiritual practitioner. Wasn't it hard? It looked easy, but it was hard to tell how much effort Lin Yi had put in. Qingtian felt that leveling up a person's strength wasn't something that easy. Lin Yi didn't say it out loud, but he knew that he must have put in a lot of effort. Chitian was grateful to Lin Yi, and at the same time, he swore to himself that he would train hard and not waste Lin Yi's efforts. Go! Lin Yi nodded. Chitian was looking good right now. He was full of energy, and Lin Yi was quite satisfied. At the same time Chitian was training hard, a black SUV stopped in front of the floating cloud bar, and the first to step out was Zhao Qibing. Yes, you saw it right, he walked out. He didn't need a wheelchair anymore, he could walk. Zhao Qibing got out and stood at the side of the car, waiting respectfully until Elder Bai got out as well. He stood up straight again. Master, I've realized that it's really good to walk on my own, without a wheelchair restraining me, it's so comfortable. I didn't expect you to be so strong in martial arts, and your medical skills are even better. Qibing's leg, naturally, was healed by Elder Bai. He was an Earth-class late-phase peak, but he was also a master of medicine himself. All these years, he'd been acting as old Zhao's personal doctor, but House Zhao had other personal doctors, like Yao Wang. So other than old Zhao, Elder Bai wouldn't treat anyone else. Now that Qibing was his disciple, naturally, Elder Bai would treat him. Haha, don't worry, I will teach you this medical skill in the future. Elder Bai knew that Qibing was flattering him, but he didn't mind at all. That was just how Elder Bai was. If he liked you, he'd like you no matter what you did. If he didn't like you, he'd find fault with whatever you did. Thank you, Master, I'll work hard, Qibing quickly said. This time, Zhao Qibing came back to deliver the medicine to Uncle Zhu. In fact, his main purpose was to show his identity, Elder Bai's disciple. This meant that he was the future head of House Zhao. Qibing was using this method to make Sihua, Uncle Zhu, and through Uncle Zhu, tell Elder Zhu that Qibing was going to make it big in the future. He wanted them to follow him and not have any suspicions. Qibing was also paving the way for his future. After all, it was very important to have his men supporting him. These people might seem a little weak now, but they were the future elders and backbone of the house. With these people, he'd be able to get more men to follow him until the day he became the head of House Zhao. Of course, Qibing couldn't say that to Elder Bai. He told Elder Bai that he was worried about Uncle Zhu's injury and wanted to deliver the meridian opening pill to Uncle Zhu as soon as possible, but he was worried that something might happen to him on the way back. After all, the meridian opening pill was very important, so naturally, Elder Bai came back with Qibing. Elder Yu, on the other hand, didn't think that Qibing was using this opportunity to show off. Instead, he felt that Qibing was a loyal and righteous person. He felt that his eyes were right. This disciple of his was a man of great use. If he became the head of the house in the future, he'd protect the people of the house. Floating Cloud wasn't open yet. It had just opened in the morning, and the waiters were cleaning the place. When Qibing walked in, the waiters recognized him, but they were all very surprised. The boss was usually in a wheelchair, so why was he walking today? But they didn't dare to ask. After all, the boss's leg was a taboo, and people weren't allowed to touch it. Boss, you're back! The waiters all greeted Qibing. Su Jiaoneng, on the other hand, heard the commotion outside and rushed out with Sihua. There was no one in the bar during the day, so the commotion outside was very clear. Su Jiaoneng and Sihua heard the waiters greeting their boss, so they walked out immediately. Master Bing, you're back! Your leg! Sihua was a little surprised to see Qibing. Naturally, my master healed my leg. Qibing smiled. Sihua, this is my master, Elder Bai, come and greet him. Yes. Sihua was shocked. He was Guangyin's underling, and naturally, he had some understanding of the hidden House Zhao. He knew who Elder Bai was. He was the personal bodyguard of House Zhao's old man. He'd be a person on the same level as the Grand Elder in the future, and now that he'd taken Qibing as his disciple, didn't that mean that Qibing would become the young master of House Zhao? Sihua didn't dare imagine it. Sihua was still a little reluctant when he first started following Qibing, thinking that he'd be able to get some results with Qibing before asking Guanyin to let him go back to House Zhao to take charge of other things. He thought that an illegitimate child wouldn't be able to do much, but now, Qibing had risen to the top in one step. Greetings, Elder Bai! Sihua said respectfully. At this time, Uncle Zhu and Yao Wang came out from the room as well. They heard the news of Elder Bai's arrival. They were all under Elder Bai's management in House Zhao, so how could they not come out to greet him? Especially Yao Wang. He knew Elder Bai's medical skills, and he knew that Elder Bai was the head doctor of the house. This made him even more respectful. Greetings, Elder Bai. Uncle Zhu and Yao Wang said respectfully after coming out. Little Zhu, the master you follow is really a kind-hearted, affectionate and righteous person. Since Elder Bai had taken Qibing in as a disciple, he had to start thinking for him. He said directly, Do you know what Qibing said when the head of the house asked him what reward he wanted? He did a great job for the house this time, and you know what he said? Chapter 1442. At the same time, Uncle Zhu was happy for himself. Qibing was strong, and his position as his follower naturally rose as well. The head of the house even promised Qibing that he'd be the next heir, but Qibing didn't budge at all. He only had one request, and that was to get you a meridian opening pill. Elder Bai said, Lil Zhu, what do you think of this, master? Uncle Zhu didn't think that Qibing would give up the position of heir just for one meridian opening pill. He was so moved that his eyes were brimming with tears as he kneeled on the ground. Master Bing, what have I done for you to treat me like this? It's not worth it, it's not worth it. Giving up the position of heir for me is not a smart move at all. Please take back the qi gathering pill, I don't want it anymore. Uncle Zhu wasn't an idiot. He knew very well if Qibing really became the young head of the house, how could he not have a pill? When the time comes, he will definitely ask for another pill from me. Wouldn't that be the best of both worlds? Uncle Zhu, don't say that. Grandpa's decision can't be changed. Qibing jumped in fright and quickly scolded. Take the meridian opening pill and train hard, that's the best way to repay me. Haha, Lil Zhu, there's no need to be like that. This pill is already here. It's a gift from the head of the house. There's no reason to take it back. Elder Bai looked at Uncle Zhu's reaction and smiled. Plus, to become the future head of the house, you need to be a talented and virtuous young man. You don't just have to contribute to the Zhao family. Qibing, on the other hand, is a loyal child, and that's why I took him in as my disciple. Uncle Zhu's heart skipped a beat as he understood Elder Bai's meaning. He blamed himself for being a busybody, but Elder Bai's meaning was clear. Even if Qibing became the heir, it wouldn't be stable, and Qibing's loyalty was what Elder Bai really valued. Yes, Master Bing is very loyal to us. If that's the case, I'll work hard to become Master Bing's right-hand man as soon as possible. Uncle Zhu quickly cupped his fists and said, he finally understood Master Bing's plan. Master Bing seemed to be loyal and gave up the position of the young master for Uncle Zhu. But wasn't this also because of Master Bing's control over people's hearts? Master Bing had found a good entry point. Not only did he gain the favor of Elder Bai and the head of House Zhao, but he also got himself a Dan. It was the best of both worlds. Yao Wang, I heard that you also contributed to the discovery of the qi gathering pill? After talking to Uncle Zhu, Elder Bai turned to Yao Wang. But when he saw the lightning rod on Yao Wang's body, he felt strange. What is that on you? Are you doing acupuncture on yourself? Yao Wang didn't dare lie in front of Elder Bai. He could only tell the truth. These needles, it's all because of that Lin Yi kid. Yao Wang's heart was filled with hatred at the mention of Lin Yi. He was a great doctor, and yet he was humiliated by Lin Yi like this, not daring to pull out all the needles on his body. How embarrassing! Lin Yi put these needles in your body? Why didn't you pull them out? Elder Bai paused. He thought that Yao Wang did it himself, practicing some high-level kung fu. He didn't know that it was Lin Yi who did it. Lin Yi sealed his pure energy on the tip of the needle and stabbed it into my body. I didn't dare pull it out, because the moment I did, the pure energy would explode and damage my meridians. Yao Wang said, troubled. My abilities are limited, and I can't break it. I can only stay like this. And here I thought it was some other reason. Elder Bai himphed in disdain. It's just a small trick in front of me. I'll help you deal with it. You're Qibing's underling now, so you're technically mine. You need to take care of your image outside, or people will think I'm useless. Thank you, Elder Bai. Yao Wang was overjoyed. Elder Bai had agreed to help, so naturally, there wouldn't be a problem. Lin Yi's methods might be difficult for a mystic, but for Elder Bai, an Earth-class late-phase peak, it was no problem at all. It's nothing much, Elder Bai said faintly as he waved his hand at Yao Wang's body. The needles were easily pulled out, and Yao Wang wasn't hurt at all. All the pure qi had been dissolved by Elder Bai. Qibing, Sihua, Yao Wang, and Uncle Zhu were all amazed. Lin Yi's methods were nothing in Elder Bai's eyes. If Elder Bai were to deal with Lin Yi, wouldn't it be as easy as lifting a finger? But that was to be expected. Lin Yi was strong, but he was still a mystic. Even if Lin Yi could fight an Earth-class early phase, that was only limited to the early phase. Elder Bai, on the other hand, was an Earth-class late-phase peak, one step away from Sky-class. Someone like that, naturally, would be able to break through Lin Yi's methods easily. Plus, Lin Yi's methods weren't too masterful. He could only make those with lower training feel helpless. Those with higher training, like Elder Bai, could forcefully dissolve Lin Yi's qi. At that thought, Yao Wang thought of something. Elder Bai, that Lin Yi is a huge problem for us House Zhao. If you were to deal with Lin Yi, it'd be a piece of cake. Yao Wang, my father and grandpa will decide this. Don't say anything else. Qibing jumped and quickly stopped him. This was what he wanted to say as well, but if his father and grandpa didn't agree, then even if Elder Bai was his Shifu, he couldn't do it. It's fine, but I'm an Earth class, and the Earth class of a hidden house is restricted by the Council of the Noble Houses. They can't come to the common world and participate in the fights here. If I were to make a move, I'd be used against. Elder Bai said. If you want to deal with Lin Yi, you'd have to find a chance in the common world. As for me, I can't do it, I'm too big a target. Yao Wang nodded helplessly. He knew the rules of a hidden house, but he was from a hidden house as well. He thought that Elder Bai would be fine if he were to make a move. Yao Wang, don't worry with a Shifu like Elder Bai here, what's there to be afraid of? Once I'm strong enough, I'll take revenge myself. Wouldn't that be better? Qibing, on the other hand, felt a sense of heroic. His position was different now, and so was his perspective. Chapter 1443. That's right, that's more like my disciple. It's never too late for a man to take his revenge. As long as House Zhao doesn't make a big deal out of you and register you with the Noble House Association, you won't even be considered a part of House Zhao on the surface. No one will be able to say anything wrong if you go after Lin Yi. Elder Bai nodded confidently. Don't worry, as my disciple, you'll have priority in using all of House Zhao's treasures. I'll make sure you level up quickly. Thank you, Master. Qibing was shaking with excitement after hearing Elder Bai's words. Even his father Guanyin didn't get this kind of treatment. He was the head of the house, but there was a limit to how much he could spend every month. There was no other reason than that old Zhao and Elder Bai didn't think highly of Guanyin, thinking that he had no drive. It was fine to keep a business, but it was hard to start a business. House Zhao wouldn't fall in his hands, but there wouldn't be much development. So old Zhao didn't need to spend too much effort on him. Strength didn't matter, as long as he could manage House Zhao when he was in isolation. The other disciples were even less capable, so he could only choose Guanyin. But Qibing, on the other hand, was a disciple of Elder Bai, and he'd put a lot of effort into him. Even if he didn't have the talent for practicing, he'd still have plenty of herbs. Plus, Elder Bai had already checked Qibing's bone structure, and felt that the kid's potential was decent. It was just that he hadn't started practicing since he was young. But that didn't matter with the foundation pill, there was nothing to worry about. Okay, Qibing, do you have anything to say about the things here? You'll be coming back to House Zhao with me to practice. Leave the things here to Sihua and Zhu. Elder Bai's goal was to bring the meridian opening pill to Uncle Zhu, and there was nothing else to do after that. Master, do you think it's a good idea for me to come back with you? After all, I'm still a bastard child. Qibing was worried about that, but he didn't want to leave the freedom he had in the common world. If he went back to House Zhao now, he wouldn't be too high profile, even with his identity as Elder Bai's disciple. He had to be careful, and he had to worry about Xiaojin's plans. He didn't want to go back before his position was stable. Unless he didn't have any plans, that was fine, and he could just be a peacemaker, but that wasn't what Qibing wanted. Oh? So you're saying? Elder Bai paused, then smiled. You're my disciple. Who dares say anything? Of course I know that, but… Master, I'm doing it! Zhao Qibing said earnestly. Master, think about it. I've appeared in House Zhao out of the blue. Others might not dare to say anything, but they can think about it. What if rumors start spreading like wildfire? I, master. You, why dash you? You. I didn't think you'd think this far ahead. Elder Bai nodded with approval. You're talking about this. I didn't think your identity is a little sensitive right now, and you suddenly came to House Zhao without a reason. People would be suspicious. All right, when the head of the house is in isolation, you can stay in the floating cloud bar. I'll come here often to teach you. Is there a secret room here? Yes. Zhao Qibing was overjoyed. In fact, he wanted to return to House Zhao with a proper reason and not hide like a coward. But his reason now was just and honorable. All right, let's go to the secret room. I'll help you take the Foundation Establishment pill and restructure your bones. Elder Bai said. Master, please. Qibing said quickly. Lil Zhu, come with us. You take the Meridian Opening pill and stay with Qibing. I'll protect you. Elder Bai said. Thank you, Elder Bai. Uncle Shu was overjoyed. With Elder Bai protecting him, he'd definitely succeed. Falbert and Tianlong arrived at the villa almost at the same time. Uncle Feng. Lin Yi stood up and greeted Tianlong. No need to be so polite. How is it? I rushed over as soon as I got the news of your return. Tianlong said urgently. Is there any news of the fire spirit's fruit? Yes. Lin Yi said with certainty. But it's only a general direction, no exact location. I'll go look for it myself after I'm done with my family matters. That's good. Tianlong heard Lin Yi's words and was overjoyed. There was only hope, but it was better than no hope at all. But Tianlong couldn't help but ask. That fruit. How many are there? There should be a lot on a tree, right? Lin Yi was guessing as well. Zhang Liju's notes didn't mention how many fruits there were on a tree, but he'd taken 2 of them, and judging from his tone, there should be more. At least as many as 2. Good. Good. Does that mean that Susu can be saved? Tianlong's face was full of excitement. He didn't think that he'd be able to see Susu again. There should be hope for Andi Xiao, but the fruit needs to be stored in a special container. I can only bring one back. Lin Yi said. So, I'm going to bring Xiao Xiao with me. That way, I can bring one back for Andi Xiao. After hearing the first half of Lin Yi's words, Tianlong's heart was in his throat. He thought that Lin Yi wasn't going to save Xiao Susu. After all, he could only bring one back, and that meant that Xiao Xiao would have priority. If Lin Yi went again, he wouldn't know when. But Lin Yi said he would bring Xiao Xiao with him, and bring one back for Xiao Susu. This made Tianlong very touched. Thank you. Lin Yi, thank you so much. Tianlong patted Lin Yi's shoulder. It's our family's honor to know you. Ha! Xiao Xiao is my girlfriend, so we're family. There's no need to be so clear. Lin Yi smiled. But Uncle Feng, what you need to do is prepare a special off-road vehicle for me. It can fit Xiao Xiao's ice coffin and maintain its temperature. Chapter 1444. All right. Lin Yi nodded. That was one important thing he had to do. After Tianlong left, Lin Yi brought Falbert to level up. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to level up Tianlong as well, but after some thought, he decided against it. After all, Tianlong's strength could be leveled up after he came back. Leveling up now wouldn't be of much use to him. Tianlong had the identity of the Secret Investigation Bureau, so he didn't need to be too strong. Falbert and Lin Yi were old partners, and they had experience breaking through before. This time, it was a walk in the park. But Falbert didn't expect it to be this painful. But after hearing Lin Yi say that Qintian gritted his teeth and didn't even make a sound, Falbert gritted his teeth and persevered. Raising Falbert's strength was only from Golden Class late phase peak to Mystic Class early phase, so the time spent was much faster than raising Qintian's strength. Lin Yi completed the task quickly, and the rest was up to Falbert. In the afternoon, Falbert changed his clothes and walked out of the bedroom. Obviously, his clothes were destroyed, but at this moment, Falbert was refreshed, and his body was filled with an indescribable energy. It felt like he was in high spirits. Mystic Class! I didn't think that I would be able to stand at Mystic Class again. The first thing Falbert said when he saw Lin Yi was this. Back then, my sect was destroyed, and my wife and daughter were nowhere to be found. I lived on just so that I could take revenge one day. But, as time passed, the thought of revenge faded. Only today did I reignite this thought. You won't blame me, right? After all, Falbert told Lin Yi that he had let go of his hatred and would take care of House Chu wholeheartedly. That was why Lin Yi was helping him. Lin Yi helped him because he wanted him to protect House Chu, not to take revenge. Only with hatred can there be motivation. Lin Yi smiled. Your hatred is the same as the destruction of your family. If you really let it go, I won't say anything, but I will look down on you. I believe that one day, you will take revenge with your own hands. Thank you, Yi. Falbert was touched. He didn't think that Lin Yi would support him. You're welcome. But let me make a joke, Falbert. Before you have absolute strength, you should stay in House Chu and protect Yao Yao and Shu. Unless you surpass me one day, I will let you take revenge. Lin Yi said this not because he looked down on Falbert, but because he wanted him to find a suitable position. Falbert suddenly became Mystic early phase, and it was inevitable that he would feel a sense of self-confidence. This wasn't a good mentality. Even Wu Qitian wanted to take revenge on Uncle Zhu, not to mention Falbert. So Lin Yi had to pour cold water on him. He had to let him know that he wasn't the strongest. If he couldn't even beat Lin Yi, how could he take revenge? I understand. Falbert nodded solemnly. Thank you for the reminder. My mentality was indeed a bit off today. Falbert, naturally, knew why Lin Yi would say something like this. It was encouragement before, and now it was a warning. Falbert was very grateful. All right, now that Falbert and Qitian are here to protect Yao Yao and Shu, I can leave without worry. Lin Yi had done what he needed to do. The only thing he was worried about was Ying Ziyu. Thinking of Ziyu, Lin Yi couldn't help but think of Xiao Xiao. Last time he went to see Ziyu, Lin Yi brought Xiao Xiao with him. But this time, he was alone. He said that he was going to test Ziyu's homework in a week, but because of Xiao Xiao, it was delayed. This was Armadillo's little sister. Before Lin Yi left, he had to go see her. At least, he had to make sure that she was better. If not, he'd transfer her to Songshan's first junior high and have Zhou Roaming look after her for him. Delinquent girls had to be watched by gangsters. This time, Lin Yi drove to Fushan Middle School. Looking at the empty seat, Lin Yi sighed. Every time he drove this rover out, Lin Yi couldn't help but think of the days he spent with Xiao Xiao. From hate at first, to love later. It wasn't something that was engraved in his heart, but Lin Yi still remembered it. That love was short, but it was intense. It was a love of life and death. The car stopped at the entrance of Fushan High School. At the entrance of the school, there were a few young men with colorful hair. They were obviously the type of gangsters. I say, hey bro, where did this pretty boy come from? Is he coming to our school to get some girls? Should we spend some money? One of the gangsters couldn't help but drool as he looked at Lin Yi's rover. These people were used to robbing and blackmailing people, and now that there was a fat sheep on their doorstep, they were naturally envious. Spend your ass! Haega kicked the hooligan in the face and knocked out a few of his front teeth. He couldn't speak with his mouth full of air. Then he quickly ran to the school gate and opened the 2 iron gates. He shouted, "Guru Lin, you're here. Please come in." Bro knew that it wasn't easy for him to get his position as the boss of Fushan Middle School. He got it by picking up scraps and scraps, so he became more careful and vigilant, afraid that Zhou Ruoguang would take him down if he didn't do a good job. And so, Bro had memorized Lin Yi's face the first day he took up the position, putting him on the list of people he absolutely couldn't mess with. How could he not be careful when even Zhou Ruoguang was afraid of him? And so, Bro recognized Lin Yi right away. "You're that Lil Hey guy, right?" Lin Yi said, recognizing Bro. "It's me, Hayashi Lin. You still remember me?" Bro's face lit up with joy when he heard Lin Yi's words. "Hayashi Lin, you're here to see Miss Ziyu, right? Don't worry, after you left, I've followed your instructions and made sure Miss Ziyu goes to class every day. I've also arranged for the best students in the school to study with her." "You've done well." Lin Yi nodded, feeling that this Bro was quite understanding. But this guy was also quite amazing, being able to arrange for the students with the best grades to be together. "It's what I should do." Bro smiled. Chapter 1445. Chapter 1443. Ziyu's changes soon. Lin Yi found Ziyu's class. They should be having English class right now. Lin Yi stood at the window and looked in, satisfied. At least this class was like a real class. It wasn't as chaotic as the last time he came, no different from the market. It seemed that Bro didn't lie to him. These were all students with good grades and loved to learn. The next moment, Lin Yi started looking for Ziyu. Soon, Lin Yi found her in the crowd. Ziyu was wearing the school uniform, sitting with Qin Shi. Her hairstyle was the same as the one Lin Yi did for her last time. It wasn't weird anymore, and she didn't have any makeup on her face. But Ziyu kept frowning, evidently not understanding what the teacher was saying. Looking at her, Lin Yi found it a bit funny. It seemed that it was really hard on Ziyu. She hadn't studied much before, and her foundation was definitely bad. Cramming at the last minute wouldn't do her any good. But Lin Yi was just letting her experience the atmosphere, not expecting her to do well in one day. Even if she couldn't get into high school, Lin Yi could let her go to Songshan's first school. He didn't even need to show his face. The Miss or Falbert would be able to handle it. Lin Yi didn't go in and disturb her, standing at the door, waiting for the class to end. Not long after, the bell for the end of the class rang. The teacher on the podium also put away the lesson plan, announced the end of the class, and left the classroom. The students in the classroom rarely left the classroom. Some even went to the toilet. The students in this class were all students who loved to study. The high school entrance exam was coming soon, so these people naturally wouldn't waste time. It wasn't easy for the atmosphere in this class to be good, so everyone wanted to study even harder. Speaking of which, they had to thank Ziyu. If it weren't for her, they wouldn't be able to gather together. It was kind of like studying with the princess, except that her grades were really bad. After class, Ziyu didn't leave the classroom. She took out a workbook and asked Qin Shi seriously, and Qin Shi explained to her seriously as well. This scene made Lin Yi look at Ziyu in a new light. Lin Yi thought that she was just putting on an act to pass the time. He didn't expect her to really want to study. Lin Yi walked into the classroom and stopped beside Ziyu. "Lil Hey, can you stop being so annoying? Coming to see me every day, and I already said I've started studying. You sure are a good dog, and Zhou Ruoguang's a wimp too. Why are you guys so obedient?" Ziyu didn't raise her head, but she mumbled unhappily. "Ha!" Lin Yi smiled. "Lil Hei's really doing his job." "Ah?" Ziyu paused. It wasn't Lil Hey. It was Lin Yi. "Lin Yi bro, you're here!" Qin Shi heard Lin Yi's voice and raised her head to look at Lin Yi, surprised and happy. "And you're teaching Ziyu questions?" Lin Yi looked at the workbook in Ziyu's hands. It was a first-year workbook. It seemed like she started studying in first year. "First-year questions? I've never studied before." Ziyu blushed, a little embarrassed. She was a third-year student, after all, and it was embarrassing to be looking at first-year workbooks. You're not bad, I see some changes. Weak basics can be slowly improved. Linny nodded, satisfied. It's just that my basics are too weak, and it's not long before the high school exams. I'm afraid I'll just waste my effort then. Ziyu pouted, a little discouraged. Her change was forced by this tyrant, Linny, but after studying with Chenxi for a couple of days, she wasn't that resistant anymore. After all, learning knowledge was better than being a gangster. Ziyu wasn't stupid, she was just a little rebellious during puberty. Plus, the school environment was like this before, so she didn't have the heart to study. But now that she had the conditions, under Lin Yi's pressure, she slowly fell in love with studying. You just need to work hard. You don't have to worry about other things, but if you don't work hard and just want to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor, then don't blame me for being rude. Lin Yi said seriously. I'll arrange for you and Chenxi to study in Songshan's first school, but only this once. If you don't get the scholarship after you go, then you'll get beaten up. Ziyu was speechless. She breathed a sigh of relief when she heard what Lin Yi said. It seemed like she didn't need to study hard to get into a high school, but wasn't the condition a little too harsh? Get a scholarship? Get beaten up if you don't get the scholarship? What kind of logic was that? Even the parents of other students wouldn't ask for this, right? Ziyu didn't know what the criteria were, but she knew that only the top few students in a school would be able to get a scholarship. Ziyu felt that it would be very difficult, but thinking about Lin Yi's style, Ziyu felt her but go numb. This guy might really beat her up. Chenxi, on the other hand, was very happy she didn't think that she'd be able to get into Songshan's first school as well. This was her dream school. She had some confidence, but she was worried that she wouldn't perform well. But with Lin Yi's promise, there wouldn't be a problem. Did you hear that? Lin Yi asked again, seeing that Ziyu didn't say anything. I heard it! I heard it! I heard it! Ziyu said angrily. You're such a bad person, why would my brother let you manage me? You're not gentle at all. What's with all the bullshit? Is your butt itching? Lin Yi glared at her. Before your brother comes back, I'm the one watching over you. But hearing Ziyu mention Armadillo, Lin Yi felt a little suffocated. There was still no news of him, and he didn't know if he was still in this world. If he told Ziyu about this, how much of a blow would she take? All right, I'll try my best, Ziyu said unwillingly under Lin Yi's pressure. And I'll be going out for a while, half a year at most, a month at shortest. But I'll arrange things for you, Lin Yi said. Chapter 1446. You go compete. I guess so. Lin Yi didn't explain things that clearly. Remember, don't try anything funny. I'll have people keep an eye on you. Got it, Ziyu said helplessly. Lin Yi nodded, relieved. Chenxi, I'll leave Ziyu's studies to you then. I'll be going first. Okay, don't worry. Bye, Lin Yi big bro. Chenxi waved at Lin Yi, her face a little red from the excitement. Bye. Ziyu wasn't as happy as Chenxi. Lin Yi wasn't angry, however. He smiled and quickly left the classroom. Class was about to start, and Lin Yi couldn't stay here any longer. After Lin Yi left, Ziyu stood up and looked outside. After making sure Lin Yi was gone, she smiled and winked at Chenxi. Tell me, do you like that Lin Yi guy? What? Chenxi jumped, her eyes wide. What? What did you say? I say, do you like that tyrant Lin Yi? Ziyu had been in society for years, and naturally matured a little. She'd seen things between men and women before, but she'd never tried it herself. She knew quite a bit, though, and started guessing when she saw Chenxi blushing. I don't like him. Chenxi didn't really mean what she said. Did she like him? Didn't like him? What did she mean by like? What did she mean by not liking him? Chenxi didn't think about those kinds of relationships. She just thought that Lin Yi was a nice guy. Not only did he help her mother, but he also helped her a lot. In her heart, she started to worship Lin Yi. She had a good impression of Lin Yi, but she'd never thought about liking him. Look at you, you're blushing and stuttering, And you're calling Lin Yi big bros so intimately. Ziyu giggled. Chinchi was flustered and didn't know how to explain. She started to speak incoherently. He's older than us. I didn't expect it, Xiao Shi, you've actually fallen in love? Do you need Sis Ziyu to give you some advice? Although I'm not as good as you in learning, I have experience in this area. Ziyu finally found something she was better at than Chinchi. She patted her chest happily. Huh? Ziyu sis, you've been in love before? Chinchi paused. I've never eaten pork before, but I've seen a pig run before. Ziyu stuttered. I've seen more than you. Oh. But Lin Yi big bro has a girlfriend already, right? And she's really pretty too. Chinchi didn't know what to say, but she didn't know if she liked Lin Yi or not. She just went along with Ziyu's words. It's fine if you have a girlfriend, you can go fight for her. Ziyu was a little pissed off at the thought of that girl beside Lin Yi. She was the one who told Lin Yi to spank her last time, and she'd remember that. Wasn't that girl a little too mean? Why didn't she tell Lin Yi to spank her? No. I can't fight with Xiao Xiao sis, she's really nice to me. Chinchi shook her head. How could I do something like that? Nice? That Xiao Xiao girl's so mean, she wants that tyrant Lin Yi to spank me. Ziyu said. Don't worry, with my support I'll make sure you catch up to your Lin Yi big bro. What am I saying? Chinchi finally snapped out of her stupor and blushed at what she said. Ziyu sis, I was just talking nonsense, I didn't mean it like that. Don't misunderstand, hee, you accidentally said the truth, I understand. Ziyu said. Time for class, I'm going to class. Chenshi blushed and ignored Ziyu. After Lin Yi left Fushan High, he told Faubert about Ziyu and Chenshi. Faubert, naturally, agreed without hesitation. This was nothing to him, and Lin Yi was also a shareholder of Pingzhan Industries. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief as he thought that the matters before he left were more or less settled. In fact, Lin Yi was most worried about the Miss Shu and Tang Yun's safety. He even thought of forcefully raising their strength to mystic class, but he didn't have a suitable practitioner's arts for them to practice. The art of dragon mastery wasn't suitable for girls, and Lin Yi didn't have any other practitioner's arts. The difference between humans and spirit beasts was that spirit beasts could increase their strength without a practitioner's arts, but humans couldn't. So, Lin Yi decided to slowly search for something suitable for the Miss and the others. This way, he wouldn't have to worry too much. On the way back to the villa, Lin Yi thought about Lishan and Yutian. He wondered how they were, if the tomb robbery was over yet. Lin Yi thought about it and decided to give Lingshan a call before he left. After all, the two were good friends now, and he didn't know how long it would be before he came back. He wouldn't be able to help her solve the case. With that thought, Lin Yi dialed Lingshan's number. Lingshan had been hesitating whether she should call Lin Yi or not. She knew that Lin Yi was a doctor, and although Yutian was receiving the best treatment in the hospital, Lingshan felt that Lin Yi should be better. Plus, in the tomb, Elder Yu said that General Weiwu, who was with Lin Yi, was a healer spirit beast. Lingshan didn't know if Elder Yu was bullshitting or not, because she knew where that dog came from. It was just a normal dog that Lin Yi had forcefully increased its strength. It wasn't much different from her and Yutian. How was this a spirit beast? As a result, she didn't really believe that the spirit beast could heal wounds. But whether she believed it or not, Lingshan felt that she should tell Lin Yi. In her heart, Lin Yi was almost omnipotent. As long as she had something, she could find Lin Yi, and no matter how difficult it was, Lin Yi could solve it easily. But Yutian didn't let her tell Lin Yi, and this put her in a difficult spot. On one hand, she didn't want to go back on her promise, but on the other hand, she felt that only Lin Yi could solve this problem. Just when Lingshan was hesitating, her phone rang. Lingshan thought it was a co-worker, so she picked up the phone. Hello? Chapter 1447. Chapter 1445, Lin Yi's Rage. Lin Yi? Lingshan stood up abruptly, pleasantly surprised. She wanted to call Lin Yi, but she couldn't make up her mind. But Linny was the one who called her, so she made up her mind. Linny was the one who called her, so it wasn't her fault. It's me, did you hear what I told you? Linny frowned. Was there something wrong with this song girl? It wasn't the first time he'd called her, so why was she acting like this? Oh, I heard. What did you say? Ling Shan jumped in fright as she stuttered. Linny was speechless. What's going on in that head of yours? I said I was planning on going on a long trip these couple of days to find the fire spirit's fruit for Xiao Xiao, so I called you. If there's a case in the future, don't come looking for me. I'm nowhere to be found. Ah. You're leaving already. Ling Shan wasn't expecting Lin Yi to leave so soon. What about Yu Tian? At that thought, she didn't care anymore. Lin Yi, something happened to Yu Tian. Yu Tian? Something happened? What happened? Lin Yi paused, confused. Yu Tian was heavily injured by House Yu's Yufeng, and his meridians are all severed. He's in Songshan's first hospital right now. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Lin Yi stopped the car on the side of the road in shock. What's going on exactly? Why did Yufeng hit him? This? Speaking of which, it's all because of me, Ling Shan said, feeling a little guilty and blaming herself. Because of you? What does it have to do with you? Lin Yi didn't understand how Ling Shan got into trouble with Yufeng. House Yu and House Song wanted to unite by marriage, but Grandpa didn't ask for my permission before he married me to Yufeng. Ling Shan didn't think much of it before, thinking that Yufeng would back off. After all, it was Ling Shan who didn't agree, and Yufeng would give up after a while. Who would have thought that Yu Tian would step in at this moment? Yu Tian was doing this out of goodwill, and Ling Shan really didn't know what to do. Yufeng, that kid's character is too bad, and I'm about to destroy his family. Don't marry him if you don't want to be a widow. Speaking of House Yu, Lin Yi thought of Ziyu and Armadillo. Huaijuan had already said that behind the international drug gang, there was a shadow of House Yu. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't let them go. Plus, the hatred was already set, and Lin Yi wasn't afraid of House Yu at all. If they didn't like him, then they could send people to deal with him. At first, Lin Yi was worried about House Yu's Earth-class boss Yu, but now it seemed that the old man was a complete coward. Of course I don't want to marry him. I told him a couple of times, but he wouldn't listen, always bothering me. Ling Shan calmed down after hearing Lin Yi's words. Since Lin Yi had plans to cause trouble for House Yu, then Yu Tian was just an excuse to make Lin Yi even angrier. It wouldn't bring any trouble to Lin Yi. And then Yu Tian saw it and got jealous, so he fought with Yufeng? Lin Yi guessed. How am I jealous? Isn't it because of you? Ling Shan quickly defended Yu Tian after hearing Lin Yi's words. Because of me? Lin Yi didn't understand why did it have to do with him again. Because I like you. Ling Shan felt a little embarrassed after saying that, but she was a straightforward person, so she didn't feel too awkward. Yu Tian knew that I liked you, so he didn't want Yufeng to waste time, but Yufeng didn't listen. Ling Shan told Lin Yi what happened, and Lin Yi didn't know what to say. This was a misunderstanding, no wonder Yufeng hit him so hard. But then again, what Yu Tian did wasn't wrong, and Yufeng was just too cruel. If Ling Shan really had some sort of relationship with him, then it would be reasonable for him to hit her. But now, Ling Shan didn't like him at all, and he hit Yu Tian. This was beyond what Lin Yi could tolerate. Lin Yi was a very protective person, especially when Yu Tian's business involved himself. Lin Yi couldn't just sit by and watch. I'll go to the hospital now, wait for me there. With that, Lin Yi drove towards the hospital. Lin Yi was planning to go search for the fruit in 2 days, but with Yu Tian's business, Lin Yi couldn't just leave now. He had to deal with Yu Tian first before leaving. He could take revenge later, but Yu Tian's injuries had to be healed. Lin Yi quickly drove to the hospital, waiting for Ling Shan in the parking lot. Not long after, Ling Shan's cheetah drove over. Lin Yi waved at her, and she stopped beside him. You're here! Ling Shan quickly got out after parking the car and smiled at Lin Yi. She looked a little haggard, much thinner than when she was in the tomb, surprising Lin Yi. I just arrived. I don't know where Yutian's room is. Bring me there, Lin Yi said. It's in front of us. Ling Shan nodded, not saying much as she walked with Lin Yi. Why didn't you call me earlier? Lin Yi wondered if Ling Shan wouldn't have contacted him if he didn't call her. I wanted to. But Yutian didn't let me tell you. 1. He was afraid that you'd do something irrational and go to house you for revenge, and 2. He was afraid that Yushu would be worried. Ling Shan explained. I hesitated a few times, but I couldn't make up my mind. If you didn't call me today, I probably wouldn't have told you. Don't you always look for me when something happens? What's wrong with you this time? Lin Yi frowned. Next time something like this happens, tell me immediately. Oh. I'm sorry. Ling Shan felt wrong. How would I know that you're so capable, going to house you? We've been enemies for a long time, it's not like you don't know that. Lin Yi said. All right, let's not talk about that. Did house you do anything? House you took advantage of me and complained to my grandpa and Grandpa Chin, saying that I broke the engagement, and that Yutian said that he and I. Li Shan stopped there, believing that Lin Yi would understand. Chapter 1448. Lin Yi nodded and asked, When is the meeting of the noble houses? Lin Yi had heard both Fatty Lai and Xuemin talk about it before, saying that House Kong wanted to compete for the chance to become a noble house. But Lin Yi wanted to go to the noble house meeting and cause trouble for House Yu. They've sent out the invitations already, and they're making preparations now. It should be this month or next month, no later than 2 months, Ling Shan said. Every noble house meeting takes less than 2 months from the time of preparation to the time of the event. Fortunately, I should be able to make it in time. I'll go look for the fire spirit's fruit and find an opportunity to break through. Lin Yi sighed. Once I break through to Earth class, I can turn you and Yutian Bro into Earth class. At that time, I'll turn the noble house meeting into a memorial for House Yu. Lin Yi was only mystic mid-phase peak, and while it was more than enough to deal with Yu Feng, he didn't have full confidence against Xuexing. After all, Xuexing was a mystic late-phase peak, and he heard that Xuexing's brother was an Earth-class early phase. He had entered the hidden House Yu to train, but when House Yu was in danger, he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. So if Lin Yi wanted to win, he had to increase his strength. He didn't know what position that elder Yu he met in the tomb had in the hidden House Yu, and did he know Xuexing's brother? But that didn't matter. Even if that elder Yu helped, Lin Yi wasn't afraid of him. He could scare him away when he was still mystic, and if he was in Earth class, then elder Yu would probably run away. Ling Shan couldn't help but widen her mouth in shock after hearing the words. From Lin Yi's words, Lin Yi was preparing to cause a scene in the noble house meeting? But this news wasn't as shocking as the previous one. Lin Yi was going to turn her and Yutian into Earth class? Ling Shan felt like she was daydreaming, wasn't she? In the blink of an eye, Earth class wasn't a dream anymore? It's so close now? Once upon a time, Ling Shan had dreamt of becoming a golden class late phase peak. That was something that she couldn't even dream of, but now, all of this was because of Lin Yi. If he didn't know Lin Yi, wouldn't he still be an early phase golden class master? Ling Shan couldn't help but blush as she thought back to the first time she met Lin Yi, and how people misunderstood her as helping Lin Yi. But if she could go back in time, Ling Shan thought that she'd admit to it right there and then. What do you think? Ling Shan felt that if Lin Yi had brought it up, she might have actually agreed. Ling Shan's eyes flashed with a strange, alluring light as she bit her lips and looked at Lin Yi lovingly, her face abnormally red. Lin Yi, you're so good to me, are you horny? Lin Yi jumped. He didn't know what was going on with Ling Shan, but why did she look like she was horny? They were talking about serious business. Why did this happen all of a sudden? Ling Shan was a little annoyed, blaming Lin Yi for not understanding the situation. This guy seemed to be infatuated sometimes, but he was also an idiot at other times. For Xiao Xiao, he'd go to a dangerous place like the ancient tomb, and he'd go even further to search for the fire spirit's fruit. He didn't even look at her. Nope, how am I supposed to horny if you don't get naked? Lingshan said to Lin Yi. Let's go see Yutian bro first. Lin Yi didn't continue on the topic. Towards Lingshan, Lin Yi didn't know what he felt. If he said he liked her, it was naturally a little. He wasn't a plant or a tree, he couldn't be emotionless. He'd been with Lingshan a lot of things, and their relationship had gone from being enemies at the start to being weird and subtle. What made Lin Yi feel helpless was that Lingshan seemed to have set her sights on him, just because he'd seen her naked once, as if he was the only one she could marry. Lingshan didn't seem like a conservative person, but that was exactly what she was. But it was impossible for Lin Yi to fall in love with her. Because of his lust for beauties, Lin Yi only had a good impression of her, but it'd be troublesome once it turned into action. But it seemed like there was a lot of trouble right now. Lingshan gritted her teeth at Lin Yi's avoidance of the topic, but there was nothing she could do. This was the first time she'd fallen for a man, and as she got to know him, she became more and more infatuated with him. This man had too many secrets, and he was abnormally strong. He was just right for her. Lin Yi wasn't just a little stronger than her, he was way, way stronger. Although Lin Yi was only mystic mid-phase peak right now, Lingshan believed that Lin Yi would achieve even greater things in the future. If Lin Yi didn't have the confidence, he wouldn't have said something like turning the noble house meeting into House Yu's death anniversary. Out of all the noble houses in the common world, who would dare to say that they wanted to destroy House Yu? Even the hidden houses wouldn't dare say something like that, let alone normal houses. Everyone knew that House Yu had the support of the hidden House Yu, and the hidden House Yu was one of the strongest of the hidden houses. Who would dare go against them? But Lin Yi just had to do it, and he did it, and he was still living so carefreely after doing it. Lingshan couldn't help but sigh. It was really frustrating to compare oneself to another. Judging from Lin Yi's tone, Xie Yufeng had suffered a lot from Lin Yi in school, but he was still so arrogant in front of Yutian. If she'd known this would happen, she would have asked Lin Yi to chase Yufeng away first, and this wouldn't have happened. The two walked side by side to the hospital, and they saw a familiar face. Guan Xian? Lin Yi saw Guan Xian first, and greeted her with a smile. She was a shy girl he met when he first came to Songzhan, and Lin Yi had a good impression of her. After that, because of Xuemin, Lin Yi and Guan Xian got closer. Chapter 1449. Guan Xian knew Lingshan as well, but she didn't have a good impression of the girl. She thought that there was something wrong with the girl's style, helping Lin Yi in the hospital in broad daylight. Guan Xian didn't believe that Lin Yi was that kind of person, but the rumors in the hospital were spreading like wildfire, as if it were true. She'd met Lingshan when she was kidnapped by the assassin who wanted to kill Lu Buijia, but she'd made a report in a hurry. They didn't have much of a relationship, but she knew that Lingshan was from House Song, and that she was close to Huaiju and Bro. She seemed to be his junior. Hello, Officer Song. Guan Xian didn't like her, but she was a careful girl. Since Lingshan was with Lin Yi, Guan Xian couldn't just ignore Lingshan. It'd embarrass Lin Yi, and so she greeted Lingshan. Guan Xian, is it? I remember you. Lingshan nodded with a smile. Lingshan was no longer in the mood to be jealous of Lin Yi's beautiful girls. She couldn't be jealous anymore. There were too many of them. She just hoped that Lin Yi would pay more attention to her. Being from a big house, Lingshan didn't care too much about stuff like that. This was one of the reasons why she was able to accept it. Lin Yi, why are you here? Are you sick, or are you here to visit a friend? Guan Xian asked. I'm here to visit a friend, Lin Yi said. How have you been? I haven't been to your house in a while. Is Grandpa Guan doing well? Grandpa is doing well. Guan Xian felt a little sad at the mention of her grandpa. Her grandpa could tell that Lin Yi wasn't going to be his disciple, nor was he going to be House Guan's grandson-in-law. However, Guan Xuemin didn't want to leave without a successor, and so he wanted to send Guan Xian to an old friend's place to learn about Eastern medicine. That way, House Guan would have a successor. But Guan Xian didn't want to leave. She didn't feel like a doctor. She felt that being a nurse was better than being a doctor. At home, she helped Xiumin get medicine and brew it. She was familiar with it, but she didn't have the confidence to save lives. Secondly, she'd have to leave Songzhan. Even though Lin Yi had clearly rejected the idea of becoming House Guan's grandson-in-law, Guan Xian only wanted to quietly protect her own happiness. She wanted to be able to silently pay attention and miss Lin Yi. Even if they didn't see each other often, they were still in the same city, so there were still chances to see each other occasionally. Just like now, the two of them were meeting each other. Guan Xian didn't want to leave, but she didn't want to disappoint her grandpa either. She knew that her grandpa had spent his entire life studying medicine, and he wanted his descendants to have achievements in this field as well. Guan Xian, however, was only a normal nurse, and that was disappointing. Xiumin didn't say much about it because he loved Guan Xian, but after meeting Lin Yi and talking to him, he felt that it was time for his granddaughter to learn something. Otherwise, the gap between Lin Yi and Guan Xian would only grow bigger and bigger, and the distance between them would only grow bigger and bigger. Xiumin knew what Guan Xian was thinking, and he wanted to make Guan Xian and Lin Yi together. That was why he made this decision, and told Guan Xian about it. But Guan Xian felt that no matter what she did, Lin Yi wouldn't choose her. Lin Yi already had his lover, and she'd met her before. She was a beautiful and youthful girl, so why would she want to ruin their relationship? As for studying, Guan Xian really didn't think that she was cut out for it, so she was conflicted. Now that she saw Lin Yi, she suddenly had the urge to talk to him. All right then. I'll go see my friend first, and I'll visit Grandpa Guan in the next 2 days. Lin Yi was about to leave, so he naturally had to pay Xiumin a visit. He'd also tell Fatty Lai about the medicine company. And, Lin Yi, are you free later? Guan Xian bit her lips and finally opened her mouth to ask. She wasn't someone who liked to take the initiative, but this was an important matter, so she wanted to discuss it with Lin Yi and see what Lin Yi thought. No matter what Lin Yi said, she would listen to Lin Yi. Almost, why? Is there something you need? Lin Yi asked. I have something I need your help with, Guan Xian said carefully. Sure, I'll call you when I'm done here. In Lin Yi's impression, Guan Xian usually didn't look for him on her own. Now that she was looking for him, it must be something important. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't reject her. Guan Xian nodded happily when she saw that Lin Yi agreed, her face a little red from excitement. Then I'll wait for your call. Ha! All right. Lin Yi smiled. Lingshan, on the other hand, was a little unhappy as they walked through the door. Why was Guan Xian blushing? Lin Yi didn't say that she was in heat, but why did she have to be in heat when it came to her? Lingshan wasn't happy at all. Why was her treatment so different from others? Yutian's room was the innermost room on the 3rd floor. Yutian purposely chose this position to not attract attention. He purposely hid the news of his injury, and only his grandpa and some noble houses knew about it. His other friends didn't know about it. Usually, no one came to visit Yutian except for Lingshan. So when Lingshan pushed the door open, Qin Yutian naturally thought that it was Lingshan who came to visit him because the nurse and doctor had just left. Lingshan, you're here again? Didn't I say that you're busy with your case? You don't need to come visit me. I'm an adult, I can take care of myself. It's fine, Yutian said directly. Yutian bro, why did you hide it from me? If I didn't come to the hospital to visit a friend and met Lingshan, I wouldn't know about it. Lin Yi cleverly avoided Lingshan's responsibility, saying that it was a coincidence that he came here, and that Lingshan wasn't the one who snitched on him. Lingshan looked at Lin Yi gratefully. She didn't think that he'd be so nice to her. Lin Yi, you're here. Yutian paused and felt a little embarrassed. I'm sorry to disappoint you. You spent so much effort to help me get stronger, but now I'm a cripple. You wasted your effort. Chapter 1450. Lin Yi, I knew you would say that. Yutian couldn't help but smile bitterly. I didn't want Lingshan to tell you because I didn't want you to act rashly and take revenge for me. You have to know that House Yu doesn't only have Yufeng, there's also the head of House Yu, Shuixing, who's a mystic late-phase peak. There's also a big brother who entered the hidden noble house, and he's an Earth-class early phase. If you go, I'm afraid. Besides, the noble houses have their own rules. The noble house meeting is about to begin, and the conflicts between the noble houses must be resolved during the meeting. The conflict between House Chen and House Yu must be resolved through House Chen's people. If you go, Lin Yi, you won't have a legitimate reason to do so, and it'll make House Chen's position even more awkward. Lin Yi froze. He didn't know that there was such a rule in the noble house meeting. Although Lin Yi had a certain understanding of the noble house meeting, he only heard it from Fatty Lai, Guan Xueming, and the others. However, these people were just outsiders, and they didn't have the qualifications to participate in the noble house meeting, so their knowledge was limited. However, Lin Yi didn't even think about taking revenge for Yutian personally. He wanted Yutian to do it himself. Who said I'm going to do it for you? Lin Yi smiled and asked back. Ah? Yutian froze. He didn't expect Lin Yi to say this. Didn't you say that? I can't let this go? It's true that I can't let this go. But I'm not the one doing it, you're the one doing it, Lin Yi said. Don't tell me that you, as a man, don't want to avenge yourself with your own hands? Yes. Yutian didn't hide it. He gritted his teeth and said this word, but then he smiled bitterly. Lin Yi, you don't know my current situation, do you? Many of my meridians are broken. Even if I recover, I'll only be paralyzed if you raise my strength to mystic early phase. I won't be able to use half of my strength. Ha! Lin Yi smiled. Why are you so lacking in confidence? You're not as optimistic as your sister. What do you mean? Yutian froze. General Weiwu was beaten by Yukun to the point that he was on his last breath. Not to mention his meridians, even his internal organs were displaced. Didn't he become a golden class? Oh, a mystic class dog? Lin Yi said. Back then, your sister told Jiao that I could definitely cure General Weiwu. What was the result? Yutian wasn't stupid naturally, he knew that Lin Yi knew medicine. He had heard from his sister and Lingshan that Lin Yi's medical skills were superb, but he didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to repair meridians. After all, repairing meridians was House Sun's specialty. Even the hidden houses couldn't do it. They had to rely on meridian opening pills to repair damaged meridians. How could he expect Lin Yi to be able to repair meridians? So, from Yutian's point of view, Lin Yi was only skilled in medicine and could raise a person's strength. As for repairing meridians, it was impossible. He thought that even if he found Lin Yi, it would only be faster than the hospital. But now, Lin Yi's words were clear. He should be able to repair meridians. You mean, you can repair the damaged meridians in my body? Yutian widened his eyes in disbelief as he looked at Lin Yi. Really? You're not joking? One couldn't blame Qin Yutian for being agitated. He had been living in low spirits for the past few days. Although it had been some time, and he had thought through a lot of things, no matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to accept it, but there was nothing they could do. But now, Lin Yi told him that he could repair meridians. Yutian's dead heart was burning up again. Yes, I specialize in repairing damaged meridians. Lin Yi nodded and joked. Why don't you say that you can repair spaceships? Yutian was amused by Lin Yi's words. It was the first joke he made in a while. That? I think I can. Lin Yi thought that since his energy was omnipotent, could he repair spaceships too? But it was just a thought. Ha ha! Yutian laughed. Lin Yi, why do I feel like you're omnipotent? I finally know why Lingshan likes you. If I were a woman, I'd marry you too. You're a treasure bowl. Ha! Lin Yi didn't continue the topic. I'll heal your meridians and restore your strength. But as for revenge, we'll talk about it when I come back. I'm not in a hurry. Yutian wasn't a reckless man. How could he go to Yufeng for revenge? Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept it a secret from Lin Yi. He was afraid that Lin Yi would act on impulse. As for this injury, it wasn't because Yutian was impulsive. It was because he didn't expect Yufeng to act so impulsively. There's still some time before the meeting of the noble houses. I can wait. If it doesn't work this time, I'll wait for the next time. It's never too late for revenge. It's good that you think like that. Lenny nodded. At the end of the day, it's because we're not strong enough. If I were in Earth class now, why would I be afraid of House U? But now I'm afraid. Just like you said, House U has a mystic late phase peak master and a hidden Earth class early phase master. These two are our enemies. If you want to kill Yufeng, it's impossible that they won't stop you. What I need to do is to clear the obstacles for you. You mean? You want to destroy House U? Yutian was stunned after hearing Lin Yi's words. Yutian thought that after Lin Yi helped him increase his strength, he would challenge Yufeng at the meeting of the noble houses and defeat him fair and square. He didn't expect that Lin Yi would want to destroy their entire family. Yeah, since we're going to do it, we shouldn't leave any loose ends, Lin Yi said. So this time, searching for the fire spirit's fruit might be an opportunity for me to break through. When I come back and break through to Earth class, you'll all be Earth class masters. With you guys by my side, what's House U? Yeah! Yutian was infected by Lin Yi's heroism. With 3 Earth class masters, even House U's boss wouldn't be able to do anything. Thinking about the limelight at the meeting of the noble houses, Yutian felt his blood pumping. It sounded like a fairy tale, but Lin Yi had been through a lot of fairy tales before, wasn't it? Being able to increase one's strength and repair one's meridians, which of these were not fantasies before he had seen them? Lingshan felt dizzy as well. She felt that she liked Lin Yi more and more. Chapter 1451. I'm healed? My strength recovered too? Qin Yutian couldn't even dream that he would go from a bedridden cripple to a normal person who could walk around as he pleased in such a short amount of time. Yeah, what else do you want? Lin Yi nodded and said matter-of-factly. Yutian's injury looked heavy, but it wasn't as heavy as General Wei was. At most, it was similar to Qintian's, so Lin Yi healed him quickly. Yutian's meridians were healed, so naturally, his strength returned. Yutian didn't lose much of his strength this time. He didn't even fight Yufeng, so he didn't lose any of his strength. It was just that his meridians were injured, so his strength was suppressed. This was different from the time when Lin Yi broke all his meridians. Lin Yi compressed all the qi in his body and sent it out, but Yutian didn't. So this treatment was very short. It only lasted for a few hours, and Qin Yutian was back to normal. Lingshan was already used to Lin Yi's miraculousness. She wasn't shocked anymore, so she said, I think you've recovered too. See, I told Lin Yi earlier, he's omnipotent. I didn't want to cause trouble for Lin Yi. I didn't expect my strength to recover so easily. Yutian smiled bitterly as he touched his broken legs. Qin Yutian smiled bitterly as he touched his broken legs. He didn't feel any discomfort at all. The other noble houses all know about your injury, right? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, basically. With House U's publicity, I became a laughingstock, Yutian said embarrassedly. But Lin Yi, I really don't have that kind of feelings for Lingshan anymore. Don't misunderstand. I know that girl's a bit of an idiot. It's normal for you to lose interest in her. Lin Yi joked with a smile. Lingshan wanted to kill Lin Yi. Who was the idiot? Just look at me like a fool, okay? Haha. Yutian couldn't help but laugh, but shut his mouth when he saw Lingshan's dark face. Since that's the case, there's no hurry to spread the news of your recovery. When the time comes, we'll launch a counterattack at the aristocratic family's meeting to achieve a shocking effect, Lin Yi said. Otherwise, it won't be good for them to be on guard. But in this case, I'll have to trouble your old man and let him be sad for a while. I know what's important. Don't worry. Just wait until the moment I appear in the aristocratic family assembly. Grandpa will be happy. Qin Yutian knew the importance of the matter and wasn't in a rush to tell his grandpa. Otherwise, if his grandpa's expression changed and House Yu found out, the plan would be disrupted. I'll go first, Guan Xian has something to talk to me about. Lin Yi went to find Guan Xian after dealing with Qin Yutian's matter. Then I'll keep pretending to be sick in the room? Yutian asked. And I'll tell Guan Xian's grandpa about this. You can stay here until I come back, it won't affect your training, Lin Yi said. Right, speaking of training, I have something I want to ask you. Ling Shan didn't want to dwell on Guan Xian's problem. She took the initiative to ignore Guan Xian. What is it? Lin Yi was about to leave the room when he heard Ling Shan's words. He stopped in his tracks. It's about the progress of my training. After I reached Mystic Early Phase, I've been busy with cases, but I didn't give up on training even when I was resting. I used every minute and second to train, but it seems like there's no progress at all? Ling Shan asked curiously. I wasn't Mystic before, and I didn't know about these things. So I wanted to ask, is it really that hard to train after Mystic? After Mystic, it's very hard to increase your strength by even a little bit. That's true, and the chi here is very thin. It's normal for you to make little progress, Lin Yi said. But why do I feel like there's no effect at all? When I was golden class, I would feel a little effect every time I trained, Ling Shan said, confused. No effect at all? Lin Yi paused. Maybe it's too slow, and you can't feel it? After all, the difference between Mystic and Golden class is very big. Lin Yi didn't train in the Jade space at the very beginning, and the rest of his time was spent in the Jade space. He wasn't sure if Mystic class could be trained in this kind of environment. After all, the chi here was too thin, and it was normal for training to be slow. Maybe so. Ling Shan nodded helplessly. Lin Yi didn't think much of what Ling Shan said, and called Guan Xian as soon as he left the room. Lin Yi? Guan Xian was overjoyed when she received Lin Yi's call. You're done with work? Yeah, where are you? Still in the hospital? Lin Yi looked at the time. It was already 7 at night, and Guan Xian should have gotten off work by now. Yeah, I'm at the hospital, working overtime. You're at the hospital too? Guan Xian had an appointment with Lin Yi, so naturally, she didn't leave the hospital. I'm here too. Where are you? I'll go look for you, Lin Yi asked. It's okay, I'll pack my stuff. Let's meet at the hospital entrance, Guan Xian asked. Sure, let's meet at the parking lot in front of the hospital. My car's parked there, Lin Yi said. 10 minutes later, Lin Yi saw Guan Xian running towards him from the parking lot. Guan Xian had already changed out of her nurse uniform, and was wearing a very quiet shirt. Her hair was tied up casually behind her head, and she looked like a student who was doing her internship at the hospital. You look very young, don't you? Lin Yi smiled. I'm not that old to begin with. Guan Xian knew Lin Yi's age, and that she was a bit older than Lin Yi. So when she dressed up, she didn't know that Lin Yi was older than Guan Xian. Huh? You haven't eaten yet, right? Let me treat you to dinner. Lin Yi looked at Guan Xian's abdomen, and guessed that she hadn't eaten. Lin Yi was a doctor, and his observation skills were sharper. Guan Xian might have eaten, but not very much. Chapter 1452. Since Lin Yi didn't know about it, Guan Xian decided to keep it as her little secret. What do you want to eat? I don't even dare to pick a random restaurant in front of a chef like you. It'll be hard on you if the food doesn't taste good, Lin Yi asked with a smile after he invited Guan Xian into the car. Whatever. I'm not that picky. The food in the hospital's cafeteria isn't that good, but you still have to eat. Guan Xian smiled. Just pick a random restaurant. It was Lin Yi's first time inviting Guan Xian to a meal, and it wasn't appropriate to go to a bad place. He thought about it, and decided to go to Pingzhan Business Hotel. It was more secluded, and it was considered his family's turf. It wasn't convenient. There's no need for such a good place, right? Guan Xian saw that Lin Yi had parked the car in the hotel's parking lot, and she felt that it was too luxurious. She was born in a wealthy family, but she didn't have the habit of luxury. She was better than Miss in this aspect. Miss wasn't as delicate as those other girls, but she didn't have much of a concept when it came to spending money. It's Yao's hotel. I have a VIP card here, so it's not too expensive, Linny explained. Oh. Guan Xian knew who Meng Yao was. She knew that she was the girl Lin Yi was protecting in the bank. To be honest, Guan Xian was a little envious of her. Even if she wasn't Lin Yi's girlfriend, she could at least spend time with Lin Yi. The two asked for a small room, and after ordering a few dishes, Lin Yi asked, Xian, is there something important that you want to talk to me about? Yeah, there's something. I can't make up my mind, so I'd like you to give me some advice. Guan Xian blushed, embarrassed. It won't cause you any trouble, will it? It's nothing. It's normal for friends to discuss things. What's the matter? Just say it. I'll see if I can give you some advice. Lin Yi agreed readily. It's like this. Grandpa wants me to learn medicine from his friend. But it's not something I like. I don't think I'm cut out to be a doctor. I've always wanted to be a nurse since I was young, and whenever Grandpa treats people, I'd help him get the medicine and boil it. My control of the heat and the weight was always perfect, and Grandpa even said that I was born to be a doctor, but it's been so many years I've grown up, and I think I still like to get the medicine and boil it, and I still like being a nurse. Guan Xian started talking about her own life. I don't want to disappoint Grandpa, but I'm not cut out for it. It's about that. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't really want to get involved in what Guan Xian was talking about. After all, it was related to Xiuming's wishes, and Lin Yi didn't want Guan Xian to go against him. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a pickle. What do you think I should do, Lin Yi? Guan Xian looked at Lin Yi with a headache. You like to get the medicine and boil it. What if you just want to study the properties of Chinese medicine? Would you like that? Lin Yi was also having a headache, but he came up with a compromise after thinking about it. Of course I'd like that. Guan Xian nodded. I've always liked to help Grandpa make medicine since I was young. I don't know why, but every time I do it, I feel a sense of familiarity. Maybe it's because I was born in a house that smelled like Chinese medicine? Then I suggest you tell Grandpa Guan that you're only studying the properties of Chinese medicine, and not a doctor. That way, you'll only need to prescribe the right medicine for certain illnesses, and you won't need to go see a doctor yourself. Lin Yi said. Would this suggestion be of any help to you? Guan Xian's eyes lit up at Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi's suggestion was indeed a good idea. If she followed Lin Yi's suggestion, it would be her interest, and in the future. Most importantly, she might even be able to help Lin Yi's company. Didn't Lin Yi's company research medicine? Guan Xian was excited at the thought. But if she left, she wouldn't be able to see Lin Yi for a while, and that made her a little disappointed. Then I'll tell Grandpa this when I get back? Guan Xian had already accepted Lin Yi's suggestion, and it was up to her grandpa to agree. Haha, I think it's possible. Lin Yi smiled. If I have time, you can learn from me, but I don't have the time to teach you systematically. Guan Xian's heart was pounding when she heard the first half of Lin Yi's sentence, but she was disappointed when she heard the second half. Yeah, where would Lin Yi find the time to teach her? Then can I call you if there's something I don't know? But Lin Yi's words ignited a glimmer of hope in Guan Xian's heart. Although she couldn't see Lin Yi often, if she could call Lin Yi once in a while, it would make her feel at ease. Of course, no need to be so polite with me. Lin Yi smiled. It's not like you won't come back when you're studying. I'll test you myself when we meet, and see how you're doing. Okay. Don't worry, I'll work hard. Guan Xian's burden was resolved, and it was like a huge rock had been lifted off her shoulders. She felt a lot more relaxed. After dinner, Lin Yi drove Guan Xian back to Guan Xiuming's place. It was already late, and Lin Yi planned to visit another day, but Guan Xian mentioned that Lin Yi drove her back, so Guan Xiuming insisted on Lin Yi's visit. Since he couldn't refuse, Lin Yi could only follow Guan Xian into the house. It's been a while. Guan Xiuming was very happy to see Lin Yi. Every time he had a medical discussion with Lin Yi, Guan Xuemin would benefit a lot from it. He'd long since treated Lin Yi as a good teacher and a good friend. Yeah, Grandpa Guan, I've been a bit busy lately, so I haven't been able to visit. Sorry about that, Lin Yi said apologetically. When he first came to Songzhan, Guan Xuemin had helped him a lot, and Lin Yi had always remembered that. Without Guan Xuemin, Lin Yi's company wouldn't have been established so quickly. It's nothing. You have a lot of things to do, and I know that. Guan Xuemin nodded. How's Xiao Xiao's situation? Xuemin had seen Xiu Xiao's sickness. There was nothing he could do about it, and Xuemin knew that Lin Yi had been busy with Xiu Xiao's situation. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.